Chapter 1282. Aries Temple Dragon Ritual? Wu Yin froze on the spot. In this world, although the time and year were still represented by year, month, and day, it wasn't purely using numbers as the prefix of year, month, and day to express the time and year. For example, the 12 months of the year were represented by 12 constellations. The Aries Temple, for example, was the month of this world. It was also known as the Aries Temple month, the fourth month of the year. As for the Aries Temple Dragon Sacrifice, as the name suggested, it was an annual event held during the month of the Aries Temple. At the same time, it was also the spring activity of the Ansari Dragon Academy. During the Aries Dragon Rite, the students of the Ansari Dragon Academy would each ride their own fall and compete in a race similar to a marathon. Whoever could ride their own dragon first according to the route set by the Academy and reach the finish line first would be the winner of the Aries Dragon Rite and would be rewarded handsomely. Of course, the so-called handsomely rewarded was just the result being recorded in the record. It would be used as a reference for the students when they graduated. Therefore, even though Wu Yin learned about the Aries Temple Dragon ritual from Yashur and Raymond, he didn't give it much thought and tossed it to the back of his mind. After all, he didn't know if he could stay in this world until he graduated or if he could stay in the academy until he graduated. That was still an unknown quantity. If Leibeke didn't mention it, Wu Yin might have forgotten about it. In other words, scratching his face, Wu Yin looked at Leibeke with uncertainty. You want me to participate in that sports meet? The Aries Temple Dragon Rite isn't just a sports meet. It's a fine tradition of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy. The results of the competition will be recorded in the official records. Leibeke corrected him and sighed. Even so, it's not wrong to describe it as a sports meet. Since you have nothing to do for now and the matter of joining the student council is still being arranged, why don't you participate in the dragon ritual? Is that so? Wu Yin looked a little disinterested. Wu Yin looked a little disinterested. Forget it. You had the time. I might as well stay here and read a book. It's not a good thing to be so uninterested in the activities of the academy right after entering. Leibeke put on a serious expression. If it weren't for the fact that the members of the student council are the executive committee members of the Aries Temple Dragon Rider Ritual Competition and can't participate in the competition as a contestant, I would also like to participate in the Dragon Rider Ritual Competition. In other words, Wu Yin had already turned around. Once again he began to search for books. You're not joining either? Although I'm not participating. However, the Aries Palace Dragon Sacrifice this time isn't completely unrelated to me. Leibeke suddenly curled her lips into a smile. I have decided to announce it during the Aries Temple Dragon Sacrifice. Whoever gets the final victory will get the right to have a date with me. The right to a one-day date? Wu Yin couldn't help but look at Leibeke in astonishment. Leibeke responded with a smile and an extremely seductive tone. How is it? Do you want to join? I feel like your invitation is filled with malice. Wu Yin faced Leibeke directly. He looked directly into her eyes, full of meaning. Is it because I didn't use my fall in the dragon riding combat training, and you didn't get any information about my fall? Is that why you want me to participate in the dragon riding ritual and show off your fall? The smile on Rebecca's face froze. I knew it. Wu Yin slapped his forehead as if he had a headache and laughed bitterly. Although I know most girls are curious, isn't your curiosity a bit too strong? Oh? Is that so? Leibeke recovered her smile and closed her eyes. She crossed her arms in front of her chest. When she opened her eyes again, they were filled with a strange light. I can't help it. There are too many mysteries surrounding you. If I ask you personally, you'll definitely use the excuse of memory loss to brush me off. I can only find out myself. Excuse? Wu Yin froze. When he saw the seriousness hidden under her perfect smile, he smiled helplessly. I see. I can't hide it from you, huh? No, you just didn't want to hide it. Leibeke shook her head and looked at Wu Yin. If you really wanted to hide something, you wouldn't have acted so conspicuously. Well, let's just treat it that way. Wu Yin shrugged. Leibeke clearly didn't want to stop the topic. She stared at Wu Yin. So you admit that you didn't lose your memory? Yes, I admit it. It's like you said, I didn't want to hide it. I just thought it would be more convenient. Wu Yin didn't hide anything. So, if you want to ask me something, you'll have to think about it carefully. There are some things I don't want to reveal. How direct? Leibeke turned her head away. Then she turned back with a smile on her face. Since that's the case, you'll have to endure my excessive curiosity. I don't have a problem with that. Wu Yen chuckled when he saw the provocative smile on Rebecca's face. If you can really obtain a certain position in my heart, then I will definitely not hide anything from you. In the end, the things that I hide are not that shameful. It's just that it's very hard to believe. I think so too. Rebecca nodded when she recalled the Star Essence's rampage. She seemed to have thought of something and looked at Wu Yen. You said you won't hide anything from me if I gain a certain position in your heart? Rebecca suddenly moved in front of Wu Yen with an indescribable smile. Her beautiful face slowly moved towards his face. Her emerald-like eyes began to glow with an alluring luster. Don't tell me I still don't have a place in your heart? If I have to say it, I'm your benefactor. However, Wu Yen remained calm in the face of Rebecca's actions. He didn't avoid her beautiful eyes that were getting closer and closer. After all, not only did you save me, you even arranged for me to enter this academy and gain a temporary foothold. I can't thank you enough. Rebecca stopped when she saw Wu Yan's unmoved appearance. She stared at Wu Yen for a while. After a long while she sighed. You're making me doubt my own charm. I'm also starting to doubt if you're treating me as an innocent little boy. Wu Yen rolled his eyes at her. He turned around and continued searching for books on the shelves. Don't tell me you think you can gain a certain position in my heart by giving me some benefits? That's not what I was thinking. I just think your reaction is boring. Rebecca shrugged. And then? Are you going to participate in the Aries Dragon Festival? I'm not really interested, but it's not like I don't want to participate. Wu Yen replied without turning his head. It's just that my fall isn't suitable for that kind of occasion. If you can lend me your fall, I don't mind participating. What did you say? Rebecca was stunned. She looked at Wu Yen in shock. You want to borrow my fall? Such a big reaction? Wu Yen glanced at her. Is there a problem? There's a huge problem. Rebecca frowned. Do you know who my fall is? Well, I've more or less heard of it. Wu Yen pursed his lips and smiled. The strongest holy dragon in the academy. Then do you think my fall is as easy to ride as that earth dragon? Rebecca's expression turned serious when she saw Wu Yen smiling instead of backing down. My fall's temper isn't as good as those little dragons. It won't let you ride it as you please. Even if I'm present, it'll be dangerous if something goes wrong. Of course it'll be dangerous. After all, the opponent is a dragon. But how do you know if you don't try? Wu Yen waved his hand. It just depends on whether you're willing to lend it to me. Rebecca's frown deepened when she saw Wu Yan's nonchalant attitude. She shook her head. Looks like you won't give up. Fine, I'll let you try. Chapter 1283. In the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, there was a special place for students to settle their own fall, Dragon House. In the Ansari Academy's Dragon House, not only were there dragon servants in charge of taking care of the dragons, even the treatment of the dragons far exceeded that of commoners. It was comparable to that of nobles. Even the treatment of the dragons was not as good as that of the Ansari Academy's Dragon House. Therefore, the Ansari Academy's Dragon House was almost filled with dragons. However, in the Dragon House filled with dragons, there was one dragon house that was an exception. It was much larger than normal dragon houses. Even the building itself was much more grand and luxurious than other dragon houses. In terms of appearance, it even gave people the feeling of a villa where nobles lived. But in this dragon house there were only 5 dragons living there. 5 holy dragons. The 7th dragon house. That was a facility for holy dragons in the academy. It was just a place for dragons to live, but the 7th dragon house was like a villa. The place where nobles lived their holy dragons probably wasn't as luxurious as the 7th dragon house. This also indirectly proved how rare and precious holy dragons were in people's hearts. At this moment, in one of the rooms in the 7th dragon house, Sylvia was looking at the listless Lancelot lying on the ground. Her icy blue eyes were filled with sadness. I'm sorry, Lancelot. She stroked Lancelot's beautiful white fur. Her eyes were filled with emotions. Sylvia's voice was very depressed. It's all because I'm too weak, that's why you lost to an earth dragon. You. Lancelot turned his head and let out a comforting whimper, but his voice was also filled with depression. Clearly the fact that he lost to an earth dragon made Lancelot feel rather bad. Dragons were all prideful by nature. As a holy dragon, losing to an earth dragon was indeed a huge blow to the dragon race. So much so that, even though Sylvia brought Lancelot's favorite food, Lancelot didn't eat anything. Strangely, Lancelot didn't eat even a little bit. This was the first time something like this had happened. However, compared to Lancelot, Sylvia seemed to have suffered a heavier blow. You clearly tried so hard to respond to me. It had grown into a holy dragon when it was still a baby dragon. In the end, it was me, a useless master, who dragged you down. Sylvia lowered her head. She bit her lip. Is it really because I don't have the talent of a dragon nurturer? If these words were heard by the students of the academy, their jaws would drop to the ground in shock. He was always first in the school year. Furthermore, she was one of the only 5 dragon knights in the academy. Who would believe that Sylvia did not have the talent to be a dragon nurturer? Besides, without the talent of being a dragon breeder, the mother of dragons wouldn't have entrusted her babies to Sylvia. At that time, Sylvia wasn't even a dragon breeder. However, Sylvia's words didn't sound like she was mocking herself at all. Instead, they sounded very real, which was really confusing. Sylvia could not help but reach out her hand and touch the star carving that was slightly above her chest through her clothes. She mumbled as if she was asking for help. Big brother, what should I do? How can I become stronger? Right at this moment, the door to the dragon house was suddenly opened, giving Sylvia a huge fright. Even Lancelot almost revealed an alarmed expression as he looked towards the door. The next moment, both man and dragon were stunned. It's here? Standing next to Rebecca at the entrance, Wu Yen smacked his lips as he looked around the ridiculously luxurious dragon house. They made a dragon house look like a luxurious villa. This Ansari Academy sure is rich. That's why you better not provoke it later? Rebecca kept sighing as if she wasn't optimistic about Wu Yan's chances. If we cause a ruckus here, the reconstruction will require a lot of money. It wasn't easy for me to get the Academy's approval. They really approved it? Wu Yan pursed his lips. Looks like the teachers in the Academy want to see if I can tame the strongest holy dragon in the Academy. Tame the strongest holy dragon in the Academy? Just as Wu Yan finished speaking, a shocked voice resounded from within the dragon house. It clearly entered Wu Yan and Rebecca's ears. Only then did they notice that there was another person present. Seeing the shocked Sylvia standing next to Lancelot in one of the dragon houses, Wu Yan and Rebecca were both shocked. Sylvia? Your Highness? Hearing 2 different names at the same time made Sylvia feel strange. This was the first time someone called her by her name in the academy. However, now wasn't the time to care about this. Compared to this, Sylvia was more concerned about what she just heard. Sylvia walked out of Lancelot's dragon room and stopped in front of Wu Yan. Before the two could react, Sylvia stared at Wu Yan's face and said in a low voice, "You did say that you want to tame the strongest holy dragon in the academy, right?" That's right. He just beat the crap out of him this morning and now he's talking to him face to face. Wu Yan felt a bit uncomfortable but he quickly recovered. I did say that, in other words. Sylvia sucked in a breath of cold air. You want to ride President Rebecca's fall? Well, that's what it is. You. Sylvia's eyes widened and was instantly dumbstruck by Wu Yan's words. He actually wants to challenge a holy dragon as a mortal, and the strongest holy dragon in the academy at that. Does this person really have the ability or is he just being arrogant? If it's the latter, Sylvia wouldn't even look at Wu Yan. But if it's the former, thinking back to his miraculous dragon riding ability in the morning, Sylvia felt extremely conflicted. Your Highness. Seeing that Sylvia had calmed down, Rebecca stepped forward and stood in front of her. We've already received permission from the teachers. As a precaution, Your Highness should take Lancelot away from the dragon house for the time being. Sylvia remained silent but still obediently walked into Lancelot's room. She took Lancelot's reins and walked out of the dragon house. However, she stopped at the entrance and didn't intend to leave. It seemed that Sylvia wanted to watch Wu Yan ride the strongest holy dragon in the academy. Rebecca only looked at Wu Yan after Sylvia walked out of the dragon house. Then be careful. I'll use star carving to comfort fall. If necessary, I'll make you give up. Rebecca's expression was extremely serious. So, are you sure you want to ride my fall? Wu Yan didn't say anything. Instead he raised his hand. In that hand, an exquisite knight's sword was in his hand. The blade of the sword was flashing with a cold light. Don't worry, I can still protect myself. Rebecca shook her head with a bitter smile. She clearly took Wu Yan's words as a joke. Listen well. If you can't do it, don't force yourself. Wu Yan nodded nonchalantly. He raised his head and looked forward. In the depths of the 7th dragon house, dragon rooms were lined up side by side. They were separated by walls. Inside was an empty space. In the center of the row of rooms was an extremely large body lying there. It radiated a dangerous aura that made one's hair stand on end. It was a gigantic dragon the size of a house. Its fur was a deep red. The fur on its limbs was thick like armor. Its sharp claws flashed with a cold luster. Its eyes were closed as if it was taking a nap. Was that the Holy Dragon Knight Lebeka? Randall's Fall, the Academy's strongest holy dragon, Gyuvlin. As if it was only natural, Gyuvlin, who was much larger than an adult holy dragon, occupied the center of the seventh dragon house. It was as if he was showing off his position as the Academy's strongest dragon. A dragon's might permeated the surroundings, indicating his extraordinariness. Apart from Gyuvlin, Sylvia brought Lancelot to the dragon house. The other three holy dragons weren't there either. It was unknown if it was a coincidence or a deliberate arrangement. In any case, this meant that Wu Yan could use his power as much as he wanted here. Since the Academy had given permission, even if the dragon house was destroyed, Wu Yan wouldn't be held responsible. Wu Yan's lips slowly curved upwards. He looked at the dragon sitting across from him and tightened his grip on his sword. His heart surged. The next moment he charged forward. Chapter 1284. President Lebeka. Outside the seventh dragon house, Lebeka had her eyes closed. She was focusing her consciousness on her star carving. She was releasing comforting emotions to the star carving in an attempt to get Guffrin to accept Wu Yan. However, Sylvia suddenly spoke. "Do you think he can do it?" The words sounded rather strange at first, but Lebeka knew what Sylvia was referring to. She didn't open her eyes, but continued to soothe star carving as she answered. "To be honest, I don't know either." "You don't know?" Not only did Sylvia not show any confusion, she even became serious. "President, do you mean he has a chance of succeeding?" "He is a mysterious and unfathomable person." Lebeka did not answer Sylvia's question directly. Instead, she said this sentence. "Fall isn't by his side and his identity is unknown. Yet he has Yasho? Blake also has the ability to ride other dragons and can make a dragon kneel down in front of him with just a shout. Coupled with that incomparably magical dragon riding skill and some mysterious phenomena surrounding him, no matter which point it is, it all indicates that he is not an ordinary person." As though she was talking to herself, Lebeka's red lips parted slightly as she conversed with Sylvia. She didn't know that she had already self-destructed. She had been paying close attention to Wu Yan's affairs. After all, the matter of making a dragon kneel down with just a shout hasn't been widely circulated in the Academy yet. Most of the students were so engrossed in his dragon riding skill that they forgot that Wu Yan once made a dragon kneel down with just a shout. This also proves that Lebeka has been keeping an eye on Wu Yan all this time. However, Sylvia clearly didn't notice this and looked at Lebeka with a puzzled expression. "But isn't he President Lebeka's guard? Why does it sound like the president has just met him?" "I have indeed just met him." Sylvia was stunned. "Well?" Lebeka opened her eyes and smiled at Sylvia. "Your Highness, just think of it as me taking a fancy to him and recruiting him as my guard." All of a sudden Rebecca's face froze and her expression changed drastically. "Not good." Sylvia was shocked. She didn't have time to react. A loud explosion came from the seventh dragon house ahead. Bang! The deafening explosion caused the ground to tremble slightly and set off a gust of wind. Lebeka and Sylvia abruptly raised their heads to look in the direction of the seventh dragon house. They saw it. They didn't know when it happened. The top of the seventh dragon house was blasted open, revealing a rather large hole. In the dragon house, a red shadow shot up into the sky at an extremely fast speed. It shot into the air and stopped in midair, revealing the silhouette of the red silhouette. Red fur, a huge body, muscles as thick as a suit of armor. It was Guffrin. Above Guffrin's head, in the middle of the dragon horns, was Wu Yan with his sword in hand. He looked like a dragon-slaying knight. However, Lebeka and Sylvia didn't feel the slightest bit of fascination when they saw Wu Yan's majestic appearance. Instead they looked anxious. "Guffrin." Lebeka took a step forward and shouted. "Calm down. Roland? Randall. What are you doing?" Sylvia couldn't help but shout. "Get out of Guffrin's way." Wu Yan looked at Lebeka and Sylvia when he heard the two girls. His lips curled into a grin that only he himself could see. He looked at Guffrin with lightning speed and he closed his eyes. He started connecting with Guffrin through his consciousness as a rider. However, if a rider wanted to connect with a dragon's consciousness, the dragon had to open its heart to the rider. Otherwise, it would be impossible. Last time, Bridget felt that Wu Yan was suppressing him in terms of life force. He was only an earth dragon and a young one at that. He couldn't resist this suppression in the slightest, so he simply followed Wu Yan's wishes and accepted Wu Yan. This time, however, was different. Not only was Guffrin a holy dragon, but he was also a fully matured holy dragon. His growth rate was even higher than that of an adult holy dragon. He was also the strongest existence in the Ansari Kingdom's Dragon Riding Academy. Even if a primogenitor like Wu Yan could suppress him in terms of life force, he still had the ability to resist. Thus, Guffrin could accept Wu Yan. The condition was that Wu Yan had to gain Guffrin's approval. This was the respect Guffrin had for an existence that suppressed him in terms of life force. At the same time, it was the dignity of a holy dragon. Without gaining his approval, he wouldn't be able to lower his head. That was Guffrin's intention. Roar. Raising his head, Guffrin let out an earth-shattering roar. His voice turned into sound waves that swept through the area like a storm. Whistling sounds instantly enveloped the entire area. Not good. Lebecca's expression was completely unsightly. Guffrin is getting serious. So this is the strongest holy dragon in the academy? Sylvia raised her hands to block the incoming sound waves. She forcefully supported her body that was about to be blown away and pulled on Lancelot's reins. She looked at Guffrin in shock. So strong. A young Lancelot can't compare to him at all. Sylvia looked at Wu Yan, who was still standing on Guffrin's head. His dragon robes fluttered in the wind, but his posture remained upright. She couldn't help but feel a bit nervous. Can he tame Guffrin? Roar. Roar. With another roar, Guffrin moved. The mountain-like body soared into the sky, accompanied by a loud sonic boom. It turned into a flash of red lightning, flashing back and forth in the sky, moving up and down and pacing back and forth. Whoosh. His extreme speed caused a sharp sound that reverberated through the air. On the ground, Lebecca and Sylvia couldn't even see Guffrin's true body. Their expressions changed again and again. Flying at such a terrifying speed, even if another dragon was holding on to him, he would still be flung away. However, the two of them didn't see Wu Yan being flung away by Guffrin. Instead, they saw him standing steadily on Guffrin's head, completely unaffected. This shocked both Lebecca and Sylvia greatly. As long as they could hear the sharp sound of air breaking, the two of them could tell what kind of speed Gufeline was flying at. Under such a powerful centrifugal force, let alone consciousness, even his organs might be flung out of his mouth. Under such circumstances, Wu Yan was still able to stand steadily on Guffrin's head. It was a miracle. On the other side, Wu Yan, who was riding on top of Gufflin's head, bitterly laughed as he listened to the incessant howling of the wind. Looking at the scene in front of him that has turned into a sea of white. You bastard, you're actually this serious? If it wasn't me, which human would be able to endure your torment? Roar. Roar. Guffrin roared in response. His roar carried a faint ripple of mana. Clearly, it was using its own magic power to strengthen its speed. Wu Yan could even feel a powerful repulsive force from Guffrin's body. He couldn't help but tighten his grip on Guffrin's horn. Even breathing became difficult. Guffrin could only roar, but Wu Yan understood what it meant. He would definitely not show any mercy. This meant that Guffrin was already going all out. When Guffrin went all out, he was already at the 8th rank. Coupled with the fact that he was a dragon with a noble bloodline, Guffrin's strength was already close to the 8th rank. He was only a hair's breadth away from reaching that rank. Wu Yan, who had sealed all his power, only had the boundless martial refinement and the physical abilities of a true ancestor. He was also at the 8th rank. They were evenly matched. Ha 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 ha. Sensing Guffrin's intentions, Wu Yan laughed heartily. I understand. Since that's the case, I'll go all out as well. Don't die, Guffrin. His voice reverberated throughout the battlefield, reaching Lebecca and Sylvia's ears. In the next moment, Wu Yan raised the knight's sword in his hand. Above it, a dense air current began to sweep up. The whistling air covered the blade of the knight's sword, condensing into a shining halo. Then Wu Yan slashed downwards. Chaotic returned to Horizon Dance. A dazzling saber light flashed and cut through the air. It was as if a saber had descended from the sky and landed on Gufeline's body. Boom! A blinding light exploded in the sky. Chapter 1285. Boom. The dazzling saber light slowly bloomed as if it had cut the entire sky into two halves. The space seemed to have been cut in half. The dazzling light carried the aurora-like saber halo and expanded in this part of the world. It then gradually reverberated, stirring up a gust of wind that swept in all directions. What? What is that? It's a lie, right? Lebecca and Sylvia's expressions constantly changed as they witnessed this scene. In the end, they were stunned as waves of shock surged through their hearts. However, they were quickly drowned out by the fierce winds. They raised their hands in front of themselves and closed their eyes to block the dazzling blade light in the sky. It wasn't until about a minute later that the wind and waves weakened, and the strong light gradually dimmed. The two beautiful girls on the scene opened their eyes and looked up. Then, a huge body fell from the sky at the same time, smashing heavily on the ground. Bang! With a muffled thump, a gust of wind that was much weaker than before was stirred up. The falling figure was instantly hidden, and only when the dust settled did Rebecca and Sylvia finally see the true identity of the falling figure. It was Gyuvlin, who had been soaring through the sky like a god. However, at this very moment, Gyuvlin no longer had his previous awe-inspiring posture. He was like a heavily injured ferocious beast, lying on the ground with traces of pain in his eyes. On his back, there was a hideous wound that stretched from his shoulder to his ribs. Blood seeped out of it. His scales and fur were already in tatters. Gyuvlin! Rebecca paled in fright and hurriedly ran towards Gyuvlin. Sylvia also reacted and quickly followed after her while holding onto Lancelot's reins. Just as the two girls were about to jump in front of Gyuvlin, a voice stopped them. "All right, don't be so nervous." Most of the damage was absorbed by Gyuvlin's scales, fur, and the magic barrier around him. The wound on Gyuvlin's body is very shallow and will only hurt a little. It's just a superficial wound. Rebecca and Sylvia abruptly stopped in their tracks when they heard this. Only then did they stop. The two girls saw Wu Yen standing on Guffrin's neck. He's patting Guffrin's mane with a bitter smile on his face. "Looks like I was a little too serious." Roar. Gyuvlin also roared, but it didn't have the same momentum as before. It was a cry of agreement. Although it sounded weak, it didn't seem to be in much pain. It was clearly fine. Rebecca sighed in relief when she heard Wu Yan's words and Gyuvlin's cry. She ran to Gyuvlin's side and imitated Wu Yan, stroking his hair. "That's great. Looks like he's fine." Rebecca then asked Wu Yan with a frightened expression as she thought of something. "Oh, what was that just now?" "Just now? It's the saber light that struck Guffrin down." Sylvia, who had caught up to them, added in a hurry. Her face was also full of shock. "That was your attack, right? You're not a sacred sky dragon knight, are you?" Rebecca looked at Wu Yan with a solemn expression. It was clear that Rebecca had the same thought. That was to be expected. When it came to attacking dragons with a human body, the first thing that came to mind was the Holy Sky Dragon Knights equipped with the Holy Knight armor and possessing extraordinary strength. If it was an earth dragon, pterosaur, or water dragon, then it wasn't impossible for a powerful human to fight it with their own strength. However, Gyuvlin wasn't an earth dragon, pterosaur, or water dragon. He was an adult sacred dragon. The Holy Sky Dragon Knight equipped with the Holy Knight armor was the #1 possibility for a human to fight a holy dragon head-on. Wu Yan's attack just now definitely came from his own body. It wasn't an additional effect from an item, it's a real head-on attack. Since that was the case, it was reasonable to interpret Wu Yan as a sacred sky dragon knight equipped with sacred knight armor. Unfortunately, Wu Yan only smiled helplessly at Rebecca and Sylvia's grave expressions. "You're thinking too much. Putting aside whether or not I'm a Saint Sky Dragon Knight, the attack just now wasn't launched because I'm wearing the Holy Knight armor. Besides, did you see me summon my fall? If I didn't summon my fall, how would I get it to offer up sacred knight armor?" The Holy Knight armor was a piece of equipment made by the Holy Dragon level dragons with their own magic power. Every time a Holy Dragon Knight equipped the Holy Knight armor, they had to summon their own Holy Dragon and use their magic power to create a piece of equipment for the owner to equip. As a result, once the magic used to create the Sacred Knight armor was used up, the Sacred Knight armor would disappear. It could only be used again if the Sacred Dragon Knight created it and offered it up again. As a result, if a Sacred Sky Dragon Knight wanted to equip the Sacred Knight armor, they had to summon their fall and offer up the Sacred Knight armor. When the Sacred Knight armor ran out of magic, the Sacred Sky Dragon Knight would be able to use it. At that time, it wouldn't matter if fall left their Sacred Knight armor. Speaking of which, the Sacred Knight armor was quite similar to vassal beasts. Both were created from pure magic and had all sorts of unique effects. Vassal beasts had the ability to transform into anything, while Sacred Knight armor was dazzling 100 Blossoms built-in magic device. Once it ran out of magic, it would disappear. The difference was that familiars existed in the blood of vampires and were released by the vampires with mana. The Holy Knight armor, on the other hand, existed in Fall's body. If one wanted to equip it, Fall would have to pay mana to construct it before they could successfully equip it. However, if a Sacred Knight armor wanted to equip it, he had to summon Fall first. This was something that couldn't be changed. He didn't equip the Sacred Knight armor? Rebecca was bewildered. If he didn't equip the sacred knight armor, then what was that attack just now? That was just a sword skill. Sword skill? Rebecca and Sylvia were stunned. Vibrate the sword at a certain frequency and cause the surrounding air to vibrate. Then use the vibrating air to form a shock wave and compress it into a slash. That's how it works. As he spoke, Wu Yin shook the sword in his hand. Instantly, strands of dense air swirled around the sword and enveloped it, forming a halo around it that made the sword shine brightly. It's called Chaotic Return to Horizon Dance. It's a pure sword skill that focuses on destructive and offensive power. Wu Yin looked at the stunned Rebecca and Sylvia and laughed. If you want to learn, I can teach you too. Rebecca and Sylvia immediately looked at each other, and then Rebecca laughed bitterly. After the miraculous dragon ride skill, you showed off such a terrifying sword skill. Are you even human? So strong. Sylvia's face was filled with shock. Can I still win against him? Ma, let's put that aside for now. Wu Yin felt like he overdid it when he saw the two girls' expressions. He rubbed his nose and patted Goflin's neck as if he was trying to change the topic. Let me tell you some good news. Guffrin has acknowledged me. I can ride Guffrin from now on. Rebecca and Sylvia recalled that Wu Yin came here to tame Guffrin. Acknowledged? Rebecca looked at her, fall in shock. Really? Wu. You? Gufflin whimpered. It rubbed its head against Wu Yan's body in a very obedient manner, proving Wu Yan's words to be true. You really did tame it? Sylvia's expression was complicated. Well, I finally achieved my goal. Wu Yan looked at Rebecca, Sylvia, Guffrin, and Lancelot with a smile. Thank you for accompanying me. How about this, I'll cook a meal for everyone. Rebecca and Sylvia were stunned again. Chapter 1286. The Ansari Dragon Riding Academy took up a vast amount of land. In this Dragon Riding Academy where humans and dragons coexisted, there were already several school buildings. Other than the school buildings, there was also a church, a lecture hall, a library, and a student cafeteria. In addition to that, there were also 7 dragon houses and 4 student dormitories, as well as various training grounds, sports grounds, and arenas for activities. It would not be an exaggeration to call the entire Ansari Dragon Riding Academy a small city. Compared to the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, the Ansari city seemed to exist just for the sake of the academy. The scale of the inside and outside of the academy couldn't be compared at all. It was like comparing a bustling area to a residential area. The difference was obvious. Because of this, the Ansari city was also known as the Academy City. One could see the importance of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy with a single glance. However, due to the vast land, the male dormitory and female dormitory were very far apart. It would take up to 30 minutes to walk from one dormitory to the other. At this time, Wu Yin, Rebecca, and Sylvia were in another dormitory building extremely far away from the male dormitory of the advanced course class, Apollo Dormitory. The female dormitory of the advanced course class, Epona Dormitory. To be precise, it should be the top floor of Epona Dormitory, the royal room. This was a royal room specifically for Sylvia, the 4th princess of the Lorraine Kingdom of Knights. Not only was the activity space not inferior to the suites of 5-star hotels, it was also extremely luxurious. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was dazzling. Other than that, there were also facilities that normal dormitories didn't have. There was a living room with a fireplace, a dining room for eating, a study room for studying, a bedroom for living, a bathroom for bathing, a kitchen for cooking, etc. There were all sorts of room facilities. It couldn't be compared to the dormitories of normal students. It was more like a high-class dormitory. It didn't have the feel of a dormitory at all. Wu Yin didn't know if the room of the principal of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was as luxurious as this, but this was the first time he saw a dormitory that could be called wasteful. Even the girls' dormitories of Tokuwadai Middle School weren't as luxurious as this. Of course, Wu Yin wouldn't be surprised if it was just the luxurious room. After all, Sylvia was still a princess. Living in a better place wasn't a big deal. Most importantly, the moment Wu Yin entered the room, he saw something truly luxurious. She was wearing a dark blue pleated dress with lace, and a white scarf-like floral ornament started from her shoulders and went through her chest. It was pulled all the way down to her abdomen and wrapped around it like an apron. Paired with the blue dress, it was monotonous yet irresistible. There was also a headdress on her head, and the color was also monotonous white. It was a maid outfit, and the one wearing the maid's uniform. It was a young girl with short purple hair and purple pupils. She was extremely cute and playful. Wu Yen blinked and looked at the cute little maid standing in front of him with a smile on her face. Then he turned his head and looked at Sylvia. She's not your maid, is she? She's a maid, not a maid. Sylvia frowned. She glared at Wu Yen. Is there something you're not happy about? No, 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 of course not. Wu Yen shook his head. He looked at the little maid who was standing there like a doll and he laughed. She's not like you, she's quite cute. What did you say? Sylvia's eyes widened. She couldn't believe Wu Yen would say something like that. Rebecca covered her mouth and snickered. The little maid who had been pretending to be a doll also snickered and lifted the corner of her skirt. She bowed to Wu Yen. Thank you for the compliment, I am Cosette Shirley. Shirley. The maid who called herself Cosette tilted her head and pursed her lips into a smile. You must be Lord Lune, right? I've heard so much about you. My name? Wu Yen stroked his chin and glanced at Sylvia. Don't tell me you got this name, because I defeated your mistress and she badmouthed me in front of you? I'm not that despicable. Sylvia was furious. Also, Cosette isn't my maid, she's my maid. Well, well. Wu Yen waved his hand nonchalantly. It's all the same, it's not the same. Cosette's gaze wandered between Wu Yen and Sylvia. Her smile turned frivolous. Lord Lune and Her Highness are showing off their affection? Showing off their affection? Wu Yen was dumbfounded. And then of course not. Sylvia's face turned red, she looked flustered and exasperated. Wu Yen was even more surprised. It can't be? So you're shy too? This time not only did Sylvia's face turn red, even her ears turned red. Cosette, who was just joking, showed a surprised expression and smiled meaningfully. It seems like something happened between the two of you that I don't know about. I'm very curious. Nothing happened. Sylvia's rebuttal was so weak that even Rebecca was too embarrassed to continue watching. She stepped forward with a smile. Lune, Cosette isn't an ordinary maid. You'll slowly understand. Not an ordinary maid? Wu Yen couldn't help but look at Cosette. Cosette smiled modestly and he couldn't help but laugh. Well, I'll wait and see. Wu Yen walked past Sylvia and entered her room. Sylvia panicked for no reason as she chased after Wu Yen with a red face. As a knight. How dare you be so rude as to wander around someone else's room? Can't I wander around? Wu Yen looked back at Sylvia innocently and shrugged helplessly. Then Cosette, please take me to the kitchen. Kitchen? Cosette was confused. She didn't understand why Wu Yen went to the kitchen, but she quickly put on a smile. Understood, Lord Lune. This way please. Thank you, Cosette. You're welcome. Don't order other people's maids around. Sylvia shouted. Also, Cosette, don't be so obedient. Unfortunately, not only did Wu Yen ignore Sylvia's words, her maid also ignored her. She stood there in a daze and looked at Wu Yen and Cosette, who were talking and laughing as they walked into the kitchen. She lowered her head and the background was dark. I'm just a princess with no dignity. Not only can I not order my guards around, even my own maids don't listen to me. This? Rebecca saw this scene with her own eyes and her impression of Sylvia changed drastically. I didn't expect Princess Sylvia to be so innocent. She doesn't even know that she's being bullied. That's right, Wu Yen and Cosette have been bullying Sylvia since the start of the fight. In the kitchen, Wu Yen glanced at the luxurious scene and his heart twitched. Should I say, as expected of the princess's kitchen? Lord Lune, do you really want to use the kitchen? Cosette looked at Wu Yen in disbelief. I thought you only wanted to bully Her Highness. I didn't expect Sylvia to have such a side to her, so I played around a little. Wu Yen smiled awkwardly at Cosette's incredulous expression. In any case, lend me the kitchen for a while. Do you want to cook? Cosette smiled kindly. If that's the case, let me do it. Well, it's a thank you gift, so I can't let you do it. Wu Yen said without turning his head. He walked into the kitchen and picked up a kitchen knife. He skillfully twirled it around the handle. Don't look at me like this. I haven't met anyone who can match me in cooking yet. Is that so? Cosette maintained a smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with distrust. Wu Yen shrugged when he saw this. Anyway, just wait and see. Wu Yen's lips curled up. Cosette suddenly had a feeling when she saw that smile. The boy in front of her seemed different from the ones she met before. Chapter 1287. Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, Epona Lodge, Royal Family Room. Rebecca, Sylvia, and Cosette sat on both sides of the table and looked at the steaming and fragrant dishes on the table. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. Sylvia swallowed her saliva with difficulty as she looked at the dishes on the table that looked like works of art. She looked at Wu Yan, who was standing at the side with plates of food in his hands, and asked with uncertainty, "You made all of this yourself?" "This?" Rebecca was also surprised. "Isn't this a little too beautiful?" "That's right. Beautiful." The dishes on the table were all cut into inconceivable shapes by some kind of extreme knife skill. Then they were arranged into exquisite patterns. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were works of art. In terms of appearance alone, they were more exquisite than ordinary works of art or famous paintings. If these works of art were dishes, then Rebecca and Sylvia wouldn't be willing to eat them, even if they almost lost their composure and salivated profusely. "President, Your Highness, these were indeed made by Lord Rohan." Corset, who stood behind Sylvia, explained to the two girls with an admiring tone. "I've been watching Lord Rohan from the side. There's no mistake." After saying that, Corset looked at Wu Yan with curiosity. Even though Corset hasn't met Wu Yan before, just like when she introduced him, she's been looking forward to meeting him for a long time. In fact, it was Corset who told Sylvia that Wu Yan entered the advanced course through the back door. She originally thought that Wu Yan was just a special person. However, Corset's impression of Wu Yan had changed from special to special now. The mysterious dragon riding skill. The unknown dragon rider. The genius dragon tamer. In the short span of a day, this student who only received a negative evaluation had suddenly changed. He had countless halos on him. Now he even made a dish that even Corset praised. Just the surface alone made her admit that she was inferior. Of course, these weren't the most important things for Corset. These were the characteristics mentioned above. Apart from being able to make good dishes, none of them could deepen her impression of Wu Yan. The most important thing was this special boy. He directly called her master by her name. Cosette, who was familiar with Sylvia, naturally knew that this was the first time Sylvia had met someone who directly called her by her name since she came to the academy. Furthermore, it seemed that Sylvia had removed her cold mask and revealed her true personality. Corset couldn't help but take note of this. Corset, who knew that Sylvia never had any friends, felt that this boy who suddenly barged into the academy might change Sylvia's life. Who knows? Wu Yan, who didn't know that Corset was thinking so deeply, placed the last dish on the table with a disapproving expression. He clapped his hands and walked into the kitchen while speaking. "No matter how beautiful the dishes are, they are all for eating. Don't be shy, eat as much as you want. I'll go make Guffrin and Lancelot's portions first." After saying that, Wu Yan disappeared from the scene. Rebecca and Sylvia looked at each other and picked up their knives and forks in tacit understanding. They picked up a piece of meat and put it into their mouths. In the next moment, they felt an electrifying pleasure in their mouths, causing the two girls to widen their eyes and be stunned on the spot. "President? Your Highness?" Corset faintly felt that something was wrong when she saw the two girls doing something that was completely different from before. It didn't fit their image. "Pardon my rudeness." Cosette picked up the cutlery and forked the meat that Rebecca and Sylvia had just eaten. After taking a small bite, Cosette finally understood why his master and the perfect president of the student council was in such a state. So delicious." Cosette blurted out from the bottom of her heart without even thinking about it. She recalled the arrogant declaration that Wu Yan made in the kitchen and now believed it. In this world, there shouldn't be anyone who could compare to him in terms of cooking. As a maid of the princess, Wu Yan's cooking is the most delicious dish she has ever tasted. She has tasted a lot of delicacies since she was a child. She can also make excellent dishes herself. Wu Yan's cooking is the most delicious dish she has ever tasted. When they came back to their senses, the three girls exchanged glances. Then Rebecca and Sylvia began to eat silently. Their movements were still graceful, but their speed was unbelievably fast. Beside her, Corset also quietly went against her principle of waiting for Sylvia to finish her meal, and secretly left some food for herself. Phew. Even with their graceful movements, Rebecca and Sylvia couldn't hide the contorted expressions on their faces. Wu Yan, who had just bribed Gufflin and Lancelot with food, had a hard time breaking free from their entanglements. Wu Yan couldn't help but feel embarrassed. "Although I am very confident in my cooking, I didn't think that the perfect president of the student council and the fourth princess would become like this just because of a meal. What a surprise." Rebecca and Sylvia blushed when they heard Wu Yan's teasing words. They coughed dryly and turned their heads away, pretending like they didn't hear anything. Wu Yan couldn't help but ridicule them for it. "Forget it." Wu Yan pursed his lips and he sat in front of Rebecca and Sylvia. He poured them a cup of black tea he just brewed. Have some black tea, it'll make you feel better. Rebecca and Sylvia resentfully looked at the black tea. They reached out and picked up the cup. After a moment of hesitation, they took a small sip. Their eyes lit up. What a fragrant black tea. Sylvia couldn't help but praise. Rebecca looked at Wu Yan with a puzzled expression and said something that almost made Wu Yan stumble. Rune, are you really a boy? I really want to ask you why you would ask such a question. Wu Yan's mouth twitched. How can you tell that I'm not a boy? Can a boy really make such delicious food and black tea? Rebecca gave a reason that seemed reasonable but was actually quite unreasonable. If you're a girl dressed as a boy, please don't hide it anymore. We won't look down on you. If we have time, we can go shopping and take a bath together. Wu Yan wanted to retort, but when he heard the words, take a bath together, his expression wavered and he almost admitted that he was a girl dressed as a boy. However, to prove that he was a man, he endured the pain and forced a smile. It's best if you don't question my gender. Otherwise, I'll definitely do something irrational to prove my body. Sylvia's face flushed red once more when she heard those words. Then she put on a stern face and snorted threateningly. If I had guards by my side right now, you would have been sent to prison for being rude to the princess. That's scary. Wu Yan pursed his lips and tapped the messy tableware in front of him. I spent so much effort to make so many dishes. I didn't think there would be people in this world who would turn their backs on me. I'm so pitiful. Who's turning their backs on me? Sylvia couldn't take it anymore. Kindness must be repaid. This is the family rule of the royal house of Lorimon. In other words, Wu Yan smirked as if he was waiting for Sylvia to say that. Your Highness, you admit that you've accepted my kindness, right? Of course. Sylvia stuttered. Speaking of which, since you're already calling me by my name, then don't call me Your Highness anymore. No problem. Wu Yan agreed without hesitation. He suddenly stopped smiling and looked at Sylvia. Then, Sylvia, I have a question for you. Do you know what the Avalon Holy Dragon Royal Family is? Chapter 1288. Avalon's Divine Dragon Royal Family? Other than Wu Yan, everyone else was startled for a moment before a doubtful expression appeared on their faces. Avalon's Divine Dragon Royal Family. Sylvia frowned. I've never heard of such a family name before. Where is it from? No, they shouldn't be a human family. Wu Yan shook his head and he mused for a bit before replying. It should be related to the dragon race. Related to the dragon race? This time, Rebecca and Sylvia were both surprised. Is there a family system within the dragon race? Sylvia's face was filled with confusion. I've never heard of it before. Could it be the Earth Dragon, Water Dragon, Winged Dragon, or Divine Dragon Royal Family? If that's the case, Roland wouldn't be asking this question. Rebecca closed her eyes with a solemn expression. Avalon's Divine Dragon Royal Family. Divine Dragon Emperor. Since it's related to the Dragon Emperor, it's definitely not an ordinary dragon race. Rebecca turned to Wu Yan and asked, Roland, where did you hear about this family name? This? It's troublesome to explain it to you. Wu Yan scratched his face and shrugged. To put it simply, I'm currently looking for information related to the Avalon's Divine Dragon Royal Family. I've searched the Academy's library but I couldn't find anything. Although the Academy's library contains many books related to the Dragon Clan and the Dragon Cultivators, the truly confidential parts will not be open to the public. Rebecca crossed her arms and shook her head. Furthermore, if it's something that can be found in the Academy's library, Princess Sylvia and I would definitely know about it. Therefore, I can be sure that the Academy's library doesn't have any records of this. Then, does the Loriamon's royal family and the Randall family have any records of this? Wu Yan stared at the two girls in front of him. The Randall family is a noble family with a fief. They should have some secrets that aren't on the surface, right? As for the Loriamon's royal family, I'm sorry. Although I don't know if the Loria monarch family has any records of this, the Randall family doesn't have any. Rebecca said calmly. If I don't know about it, then even if I go to the Randall family to ask, no one in the family will know about it. When she said this, her tone was firm. As a Saint Dragon Knight, Rebecca was equivalent to a nobleman without a title. Although the Randall family was a famous family, there weren't many Holy Sky Dragon Knights in the history of the family. Thus, it was easy to imagine Rebecca's status in the family. Naturally, she had access to all the secrets of the Randall family. Therefore, Rebecca could say with absolute certainty that this was the case. As long as she didn't know, then no one in the Randall family would know. As for me, I don't have much confidence either. Sylvia, on the other hand, was a little uncertain. Her attitude was a little hesitant. Since it's a secret, there aren't many people in King Loriaman's family who have the right to read it. After all, it's related to the country. Even if I'm the princess, reading these state secrets is against the law. In other words, even if King Loriaman's family has records of the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family, not many people know about it? Wu Yin frowned deeply and rhythmically tapped the table. This is a little troublesome. Leibeka looked up and stared at Wu Yin for a while before asking, "Is it important to you to know about the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family?" Important. Is it important? Wu Yin nodded after a brief moment of silence. That's right. It's very important. Is that so? Leibeka stared at Wu Yan's wine-red eyes. After a while she smiled and looked up. I understand. As the student council president of the Ansari Dragon Academy, I have quite a bit of power and authority. I will help you find information about the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family and keep an eye out for you. Hearing this, Wu Yan's eyes lit up and looked at Leibeka gratefully. Thanks, Leibeka. Well, it's a small matter. No matter what you do, you must give it your all. This is King Loriaman's family rule. Sylvia became serious. Since I owe you one, I will do my best to find information about the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family. Cosette. Before Wu Yin could react, Sylvia turned around and looked at Cosette behind her. Sorry to trouble you. Yes. Cosette lifted the corner of her skirt and bowed slightly, revealing a witty and shrewd smile. As long as it's within my ability, I will give it my all. That's good. Sylvia's serious expression relaxed a lot. Leibeka also gave Cosette a reassuring look. Wu Yin was slightly surprised and looked at Cosette. Didn't I just say? Cosette is not an ordinary maid. Seeing Wu Yin staring at Cosette, Leibeka shook her head with a smile. Cosette belongs to the Shirley family. They have been known for their combat skills and espionage skills since ancient times. They have served the Loriaman's king family for generations and are specialized in assisting the Wang family. They are the indispensable left and right hands of the Wang family. Leibeka glanced at Cosette and explained in amazement. Cosette is one of the few elites in the Shirley family. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is the most outstanding member of the Shirley family. With her help, this matter will most likely succeed. That's strong. Wu Yin smiled wryly as he stared blankly at the adorable Cosette who had a harmless smile on her face. So that's how it is. A wise man doesn't show his true colors. You're the real boss. I've made a fool of myself. Cosette held her cheeks with both hands and fidgeted as if she was shy. However, there was a sly smile hidden in her eyes. Wu Yin, who saw this scene, clearly felt a chill in his heart. This cute maid is definitely not as naive and romantic as she looks. She might even be more two-faced than Leibeka. Era? Just as this thought rose in Wu Yan's heart, Cosette looked at Wu Yin with a smile and muttered to herself. Why do I feel like Lord Rune is thinking of something rude? You're thinking too much. Wu Yan's heart clenched as he put on a fake smile. I'm just thinking about the Aries Dragon ritual tomorrow. I'm not thinking of anything rude. Aries Dragon ritual? Leibeka blinked her eyes. Right, now that you can control Guffrin, you should be participating in the Aries Dragon ritual, right? Controlling Guffrin to participate in the Aries Dragon ritual? Before Wu Yin could react, Sylvia was startled. She turned to Wu Yin in shock. You want to control Guffrin to participate in the Aries Dragon ritual? Wu Yin raised an eyebrow at Sylvia's shocked expression. Judging from your reaction, are you also participating in the Aries Dragon ritual tomorrow? Also means that you admit to it? Sylvia's mind was starting to wander. Guffrin is my opponent. Oh, you're wavering. Wu Yin said with a half-smile. Sylvia, are you afraid of losing to me? Who's afraid of losing to you? Sylvia raised an eyebrow. You have to give it your all no matter what the competition is. That's the Loriman Wang family's motto. This is interesting. Wu Yan's eyes lit up as he looked at Sylvia with a meaningful look. Since that's the case, do you dare to make a bet with me? Bet? Sylvia was stunned. If I win tomorrow's Aries Dragon ritual, you have to agree to one of my conditions. At this moment, Wu Yan's expression is like a big bad wolf looking at a cute little bunny jumping into its mouth. Sylvia shuddered and instantly became alert. What if I win? If you win, I'll teach you the dragon riding technique and the chaotic return to horizon dance that defeated you. How about it? Sylvia's expression changed instantly. If she could learn that mystical dragon riding technique and the sword technique that could even injure the strongest holy dragon in the academy, her strength would increase by leaps and bounds. This was a huge temptation for Sylvia. Sylvia clenched her teeth. All right. It's a deal then. Wu Yan grinned. His grin is deceitful. Chapter 1289. Boom. The sound of fireworks exploding reverberated throughout the academy. Oh, cheers shook the entire place. Today was a rare sunny day. In terms of organizing the competition, it was undoubtedly a very suitable day. Early in the morning, many students wearing dragon riding uniforms had gathered on the sports field of the Ansari State Dragon Riding Academy. They held the reins in their hands and lined up neatly on the field with their dragons. Oh, on both sides of the sports field, there were fences that looked like spectator seats. The fences were filled with students who did not intend to participate in the Aries dragon ritual and only wanted to watch the fun. Waves of cheers were heard, causing the surrounding air to vibrate slightly. One could imagine just how high the mood of the students was at this moment. The Aries Palace's Dragon Rider ritual was a spring celebration. Although many students did not intend to participate, their enthusiasm for the Dragon Rider ritual was even higher than those who intended to participate. Amidst the endless cheers, the students who were holding fall lined up neatly and looked forward. Over there was a temporarily built high platform that served as the main venue for the announcement of the Aries Palace's dragon sacrifice. Instructors stood on both sides of the stage. They were in charge of supervising the entire tournament. They maintained the basic rules of the tournament and didn't allow anyone to cause trouble. Backstage, Wu Yan, Sylvia, and Leibecca stood there in their dragon riding uniforms. Compared to the grinning Leibecca and the serious Sylvia, Wu Yan's expression is one of helplessness. Why do I have to go on stage and give a speech? Sylvia is the representative, isn't she? The representative has always been chosen to be the top student of the year in the past. It wasn't Leibecca who answered Wu Yan but Sylvia. Glancing at Wu Yan, Sylvia calmly continued. But you used an earth dragon to defeat me yesterday, you should be the representative of this declaration. I should be the one who is acting strange. Why do I get the chance to give a speech? Your Highness is overthinking things. Leibecca smiled calmly. She replied slowly. Even if someone defeated Your Highness's position as the top student of the year is still unshakable. Combat isn't the only factor that determines results. What about me? Wu Yan raised his voice as if he was trying to make his presence known. Logically speaking, I'm not just a student who got in through the back door. I'm also a newbie who entered the academy less than 2 days ago. You're letting me go on stage just like that? I'm afraid eggs will be thrown at me. Don't belittle yourself. Your reputation in the academy is no less than Her Highness Princess Sylvia's. Leibecca said calmly with a hint of a smile on her face. Although it was my idea to let you be the representative. So it was you. It's about time. She ignored Wu Yan's resistance. Leibecca slowly walked to the center of the stage. President Leibecca. Madame Leibecca. As Leibecca walked onto the platform, the students became more and more excited. Their cheers reverberated throughout the entire stadium, drowning out all the other noises. For a moment, the entire stadium was filled with crazed cheers from fans. Good morning, everyone. Like an unperturbed king, Leibecca appeared at the center of the stage, full of heroic spirit. Her voice wasn't very loud, but it pierced through the entire stadium, instantly silencing the noisy stadium. However, the students still looked at her with fanaticism in their eyes. After all, the person standing on the stage was the undefeatable idol of the entire academy. Seeing this, Leibecca revealed a satisfied expression. Her voice gradually reverberated through the air, reaching the ears of everyone present. Today, it's the day of the long-awaited Aries Palace Dragon Sacrifice of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy. As an activity initiated by the Student Union, as the president of the Student Union, I feel honored to be able to stand on the stage and give a speech. After her speech, Leibecca looked around the stadium. Dear students, the dragon riding ritual is not just a simple sports meeting, but a fine tradition of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy and even the entire Ansari city. The results of the competition will be officially recorded and become the glory of the winner. Therefore, since you have chosen to participate in the competition, of course, I hope that your goal is to stand on this high platform and receive the award personally from me. At this point, Rebecca suddenly closed her eyes with a helpless smile on her lips. That may be the case, but I know very well that this level is not enough to stimulate everyone's will to win. Therefore, I will give a special reward to the winner this time. Special reward? The students who had been in a frenzy earlier were all stunned by this sudden speech. Seeing this, a trace of craftiness appeared in Rebecca's eyes as she spoke in a clear voice. I will give the winner of the Ares Palace Dragon Sacrifice the right to date for a day as a reward. The person of the date will naturally be me, Rebecca Randall. I'll be Rebecca Randall. The stadium suddenly fell silent. All the students stared dumbfoundedly at Rebecca, who was exuding a noble aura, as if they couldn't believe their ears. They looked at each other in dismay as if they were suppressing something, and their faces swelled. In the next second, cheers louder than ever before filled every corner of the stadium and almost caused a riot. Silence. Rebecca's smile didn't diminish as she spoke again. The stadium returned to its original silence. Her popularity and influence made even Wu Yen sigh in admiration. Next, the representative will give a speech. Year 1 of the advanced course class, Sylvia Lamia. Her Highness Princess Loriaman. Sylvia's figure appeared at the bottom of the platform as soon as she finished speaking. She slowly walked to the center of the platform with clear footsteps. Below the stage, Wu Yen frowned. When Sylvia went up to the stage, Wu Yen clearly felt. Unlike the previous high-spirited atmosphere, there was a strange heaviness in the air. However, Sylvia seemed to have not noticed at all. She looked straight ahead with a taut face, and her cold voice shook the atmosphere as it gradually reverberated in the field. You must give it your all in any competition. This is the family rule of the Loriaman family. Above. After saying that, Sylvia walked off the stage by herself. Her aggressive aura brought about a sense of nervousness. Below the stage, all the students fell silent. Not long after, there was a burst of whispers. What? She seems so amazing. Yeah, the truly outstanding one is Lancelot, not her. Is everyone from the Wang family so arrogant? I can't bear to watch this. Wu Yan's frown deepened as he looked at Sylvia, who was walking towards him. Looking at the other party's frosty face, his wine-red eyes wavered slightly. Next, let's welcome the most famous newcomer in the academy, Roland Randall. Randall. Hearing Rebecca's words, Wu Yan took a deep breath and walked up to the stage. When he passed by Sylvia, Wu Yan abruptly opened his mouth and said this. I don't like the current you at all. Sylvia's footsteps paused. Her cold face, which hadn't changed since the beginning, crumbled and turned into a complex expression. Standing at the center of the stage, Wu Yan first glanced at the smiling Rebecca, then at the contestants below before sweeping his gaze across the crowd. I won't waste any more words. Everyone. Wu Yan's lips curled up as he spoke. Come and try chasing me. If you can catch me, I'll agree to any request you make. But don't expect me to go easy on you. Hearing that, the crowd fell into a deathly silence once more. However, in the next instant, a stifling wave of enthusiasm accompanied by deafening cheers reverberated throughout the arena. Although those words sounded extremely arrogant, it was exactly what many people wanted. After all, they were still thinking about Wu Yan's miraculous dragon-riding ability. Rebecca held her forehead as if she had a headache, but the corners of her lips also curled up slightly. Sylvia stared blankly at Wu Yan, who was receiving everyone's cheers. His words echoed in her mind. She was speechless for a long time. Chapter 1290. The order of the contestants for the Ares Draconic Rite had its own rules as well. In the Ares Temple Dragon Rite, there was no such thing as a fair starting line. The starting line of the contestants was based on the results of their training sessions, and the starting line was very orderly, divided into front and back. In the past, the starting line for the Ares Draconic Rite was set so that the contestant with the best results and fastest speed would be at the front, and so on. The lower the results, the slower the contestant would be at the back of the starting line. However, this year's Draconic Rite was different. The contestants at the very front weren't the ones with the best results, but the ones with the worst results. This was Rebecca's suggestion. The reason was simple: it was more exciting this way. Therefore, according to the new rules of this year's Ares Dragon Sacrificial Competition, Sylvia, who had won the first place in the mock competition, obediently lined up at the back of all the contestants on her holy dragon Lancelot. Aside from Sylvia, Wu Yan was also at the very back of the line. This is to be expected. After all, Wu Yan has only been in school for 2 days and he hasn't participated in any mock competition, so he doesn't have any results to speak of. However, due to the fact that he once performed a miraculous teleportation dragon riding skill during the dragon riding combat training, the students in the academy unanimously agreed that his speed isn't any lower than Sylvia's. Thus, Lebecca arranged for him to be at the very back of the line. Of course, there was another reason as well. No way, right? Outside the arena, inside the arena, everyone present, regardless of whether they were teachers or students, was staring at a huge figure in the last row of the contestants. They looked at the figure riding on top of that huge figure, and their faces were filled with shock. A fur as alluring as fresh blood. His chest and limbs were as thick as armor. His wings were completely disproportionate to his body, supporting his enormous body that seemed to be able to blot out the sun. He stood above all the dragons present, emitting a chilling sense of oppression. The strongest holy dragon in the academy, Gufflin. This was a holy dragon that everyone in the Ansari Academy and even the entire Ansari city didn't know about. It was quite famous. After all, it was the one who made Lebecca Randall famous. The most fundamental reason why the name Lebecca Randall became so famous. However, this was the Academy's strongest holy dragon. However, the one riding on it was not the most powerful person in the Academy who was full of heroic spirit, but the new student who had become a hot topic after entering the Academy for less than 2 days. Randall. The entire place was silent. Obviously, the strongest holy dragon in the Academy, the perfect mount of the student council president, was being ridden by someone else. Everyone's hearts were shaken. Among them, the person who was the most shocked was undoubtedly Yashio, who was also in the last row. Riding Brigid, which he borrowed from Raymond, Yashio looked at Guffrin floating above everyone and Wu Yen riding on Guffrin's head. Yashio's heart was in a state of shock and didn't calm down for a long time. Yashiro was also known as a genius dragon tamer. But Yashiro asked himself honestly, there was no way he could be like Wu Yen. Tame Guffrin. Not to mention Guvlin, Yashiro didn't even have the confidence to ride an immature holy dragon like Lancelot. Until now he had only ridden an earth dragon, a winged dragon, and a water dragon. All of a sudden Wu Yan's image in Yashure's heart grew. Compared to Yashure, Sylvia, who already knew about this matter, was calm and collected. She restrained her emotions and slowly suppressed the complicated emotions in her heart. She began to concentrate. Sylvia didn't know if she could win. But in order to prove herself and fulfill her promise with Wu Yen, Sylvia would give it her all. Contestants in position. Lebecca's voice came from the stage, waking up the audience from their stupor. She held the short gun in her hand and raised it high into the sky. The audience began to hold their breaths. A strange tension pervaded the air. A suffocating silence enveloped the entire place. Only the agitation of the hearts and the breathing of the dragons could be heard. The surroundings were silent. Ready? Lebecca wore a calm smile and closed her eyes. Then she abruptly opened them. Bang! A dazzling flash lit up the sky and a dull gunshot echoed. Charge! In the next moment, every contestant's expression froze and they began to run at the same time. Bringing with them a thick cloud of dust and a bugle horn, they charged forward. Brr! The earth dragons roared and charged forward. The ground shook under their stomps. Brr! The pterosaurs flapped their wings and flew into the sky. Walala! One by one, the water dragons rushed into the waterway not far away, raising waves of water as they disappeared from everyone's sight. The sight of nearly 100 dragons fighting to be the first to enter the arena shook the hearts of everyone present. Oh! Amidst the loud cheers, every dragon passed through the gates of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy and entered the city center of Ansari. Due to the differences in the dragon race, the earth dragons, pterosaurs, and water dragons had different runways. The student council made a very detailed rule about the runways. Otherwise, the pterosaurs, who had the advantage of flying, would have a much better chance of victory than the earth dragons that could only run on the ground and the water dragons that could only swim in the waterways. Thus, for the sake of balance, the pterosaurs, earth dragons, and water dragons had different runways. They would only overlap when they reached a certain path or a section of the path before the final destination. However, the conditions were not unfair. Thus, every contestant's conditions were basically the same. It was just that it depended on their individual circumstances. In this Ares dragon sacrifice, the only 2 holy dragons were naturally on the pterosaurs' runways. The most basic ability of holy dragons was flight. No matter if they were pterosaurs, earth dragons, or water dragons before they evolved, they would all have wings and could fly after evolving into holy dragons. However, compared to the pterosaurs that could also fly, Guvlin and Lancelot's speed was undoubtedly astonishing. Not only were they fast and powerful, Even their stamina was superior to other dragons. If there was something unfair about this Ares dragon sacrifice, it would be these two holy dragons that were out of the norm. Or rather, Gyuvlin, who far surpassed Lancelot in size, growth and combat strength, was the real cheat. Moreover, the one riding it was Wu Yan. In the blink of an eye, Gyuvlin overtook all the other contestants. They could only stare blankly at Gyuvlin, who had turned into a streak of red lightning and was speeding along the runways. Lancelot was the only one who could barely keep up. Roar. Perhaps it was because he hadn't participated in this kind of competition for a long time, Gyuvlin let out an excited roar. His speed once again increased by a few notches, and he fiercely left Lancelot, who was following behind him, in the dust. Wu Yan bitterly laughed when he saw this. You're this excited just by participating in a competition? How did Lebecca torture you? Roar. Roar. Gyuvlin let out another roar, but the meaning was unclear. However, its speed increased again. It was clearly fully immersed in the competition. Well, go ahead and do your best. Wu Yan patted Gyuvlin's dragon horn and turned to look behind him. About 20 meters away in the sky, Lancelot is also trying his best to increase his speed. Wu Yan could see Sylvia's sweaty expression. Perhaps she felt Wu Yan's gaze. Sylvia lifted her head and met his gaze. Then she saw Wu Yan's half-smile, which made her angry. Lancelot. Sylvia immediately cried out. Don't lose to him. I can lose to anyone but not to him. Roar. Lancelot seemed to be able to sense its master's anger. With a roar, it channeled all its magic into its wings and flapped them hard. Oh, you still haven't given up? Wu Yan let Gyuvlin do his thing. Wu Yan raised an eyebrow and he laughed out loud. Lancelot. If you lose, I'll make the best dish for you. Lancelot's roar seemed to be stuck in its throat. It couldn't come out. Lancelot had just eaten Wu Yan's dishes yesterday, so this sentence caused its heart to waver. It couldn't help but slow down. Wah. Sylvia's eyes widened as she shouted in exasperation. You despicable person. Ah. In the sky, a man and a woman, one large and one small, two holy dragons streaked across the sky like meteors, bringing with them Wu Yan's laughter and Sylvia's angry roar as they flew towards the finish line. Chapter 1291. Ansari Dragon Riding Academy Sports Field. On the high platform, Lebecca revealed a breathtakingly beautiful smile, her heroic voice reverberating through the entire arena. The winner of this year's Ares Dragon Riding Festival, first year of the advanced class Roland Randall. The group of students looked at Wu Yan standing beside Lebecca and cheered enthusiastically. Of course, there were also many voices of envy and jealousy mixed in. After all, the winner of this year's Ares Dragon Riding Festival would be able to get a date with the student council president Lebecca. How could the male students who viewed Lebecca as their goddess and the female students who looked up to her not be envious and jealous? Thus, the cheers that resounded throughout the field had a hint of jealousy that everyone could clearly sense. In the beginning, there was even a hint of powerlessness that made people smile bitterly. Sigh. Under everyone's intense gaze, Wu Yan faintly sighed. Just how many times had he encountered such a situation? Wu Yan had already lost count and didn't have the energy to count. After all, being glared at a few times wouldn't cause him to lose a piece of flesh. On the other hand, a gaze filled with resentment from below the stage made Wu Yan's lips curl into a smile. He glanced down and saw Sylvia clenching her fists and gnashing her teeth as she looked at him. Despicable fellow, shameless fellow. Sylvia's domineering appearance was completely different from before. She didn't have a cold expression on her face. Instead, she was like a resentful woman holding Lancelot's reins as she kept nagging. Since you use such a method, don't think I'll be satisfied. Ugh. On the side, Lancelot couldn't help but let out an aggrieved whimper. His dragon eyes were filled with pity. Although at the beginning, Lancelot did indeed slow down due to Wu Yan's enticing words, it only slowed down for a short few seconds. Later on, Lancelot got rid of all distracting thoughts and focused on flying. But in the end, Lancelot still couldn't defeat the strongest in the academy, Holy Dragon Gyuvlin. He was defeated without any suspense. However, Sylvia seemed to think that Lancelot had been tempted by Wu Yan's feeding attack, which led to his defeat. That's why the Grand Princess Blue Ice, the fourth princess of the Night Kingdom of Lorrimon, is acting like a resentful wife. Regarding this, not only did Wu Yan not avoid the edge of the spear, he did the exact opposite. A provocative smile appeared on her face as she looked down at Sylvia, her mouth twitching a few times. He didn't say anything, but Sylvia read his lips. Don't forget our promise. Sylvia was instantly enraged, but there was nothing she could do. She could only glare hatefully at Wu Yan, who was smiling proudly on the high platform. She closed her eyes and turned her head away. Out of sight, out of mind. You're angry just like that? Wu Yan sighed as if he expected better from him. What a child. You're the only one who dares to treat Her Highness Princess Sylvia like that in the entire Raymond knighthood. Lebecca rolled her eyes and said in annoyance. If Her Highness Princess Sylvia really wants to cause trouble for you, you're in big trouble. I can't see the trouble, I can only see the benefits. Wu Yan muttered as he stroked his chin. Even though I've already thought of what I'll get Sylvia to do for me, it's a bit of a loss. Should I think of something else? Something else. Lebecca blinked and revealed a meaningful expression. Sylvia isn't the only one who can benefit from winning the competition. Wu Yan was stunned. When he saw Lebecca's meaningful expression, he remembered that as the winner, he could go on a date with her. Wu Yan's lips twitched at the thought. What? Lebecca put on a seductive look in front of everyone. She whispered into Wu Yan's ear and she blew at him. Could it be, you're not happy about going on a date with me? I'm just having a headache. Wu Yan suppressed his heartbeat and coughed as he felt the ticklish sensation in his ear. He looked away awkwardly. I'm not familiar with Ansari City at all. I don't know where to take you on a date. You don't have to worry about that. Lebecca's eyes revealed a hint of a smile. I like to take the initiative, so let me guide you. Initiative? Guide. Which aspect? This time, Wu Yan was no longer trying to suppress his heartbeat. Instead, his imagination was running wild. At this moment, Lebecca. Below the high platform, an instructor panted heavily as he ran over while shouting with an anxious expression on his face. There's one more participant who hasn't returned. There's one more participant who hasn't returned? Wu Yan, Lebecca, and even Sylvia were stunned. Lebecca frowned. What's the meaning of this? It's been an hour since the end of the competition, but there's still one participant who hasn't returned. The instructor panted and said, in the forest, a security officer found the contestant's earth dragon, but the rider was not there. It's very likely that an accident happened. Lebecca's expression changed slightly as she spoke. Form a rescue team and head to the forest immediately. Yes, sir. He was clearly an instructor, but at this moment he was following the orders of his student, Lebecca. It was very strange. I'll go too. Lebecca turned her gaze to the instructor. What's the name of the missing rider? It's the problematic student who rode someone else's fall in the competition. His name is Yashur Blake. It's Yashur Blake. It's him? Lebecca and Sylvia were shocked. Yashur? Wu Yan's expression froze before darkening. Yashur had only been in the academy for 2 days, but he was the only person in Wu Yan's class other than Sylvia and Raymond. He could be considered half a friend. Wu Yan was also concerned about Yashur's belongings. He didn't want anything to happen to Yashur. Lebecca. Wu Yan turned around to look at Lebecca. Let me join the rescue team as well. All right. Lebecca hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. Come with me on Guffrin and we'll search the forest. I'll go too. Sylvia stood up and glanced at Wu Yan with a solemn expression. It's the duty of the royal family to help citizens in trouble. It's also the teachings of the royal family. President Lebecca, please let me join. I understand. Seeing Sylvia's solemn expression, Lebecca found it hard to refuse. Then, Your Highness, please ride Lancelot. We'll split up and search the forest. Sylvia nodded solemnly. Above Fianna Forest. Kneeling on one knee above Gufflin's head, Wu Yan and Lebecca held the dragon horn in one hand and his hair in the other. Gufflin used a magic formation as a foothold for them to stand on as they soared above the forest. Sylvia rode Lancelot to the other side of the forest while Wu Yan and Rebecca searched the other side of the forest. They searched the entire Fianna Forest with the other rescue teams. How is it? Rebecca didn't shy away from Wu Yan. She asked Wu Yan, did you find anything? No. No. Wu Yan shook his head. He tried to divert his attention away from Lebecca's soft body and the sweet scent wafting into his nose. I didn't find anything. This is troublesome. Lebecca frowned. Yashur? Blake, did something happen to him? I don't know. I don't know. Wu Yan smiled bitterly. Even if something happened, we have to find him. If he's alive, we have to see him. If he's dead, we have to see his corpse. That's true. Lebecca smiled bitterly as well. Gufflin. Wu Yen lowered his head and he shouted at Gufflin. Did you find anything? Roar. Wu Yen just wanted to give it a try. Who knew that Gu Filin would suddenly stop in midair? He turned around and flew forward as if he was being pulled by some kind of force. Seeing this, Rebecca was surprised. Looks like Guffrin found something. Wu Yen didn't answer. Instead, he looked in the direction Guffrin flew with a glint in his eyes. He could feel that there was a very strange power that was sprouting there. Chapter 1292. In the sky, a red streak of light shot over from the distant horizon and appeared above a canyon. Rebecca stood on the magic formation above Guffrin's head and slowly opened her eyes. She couldn't help but close them due to Guffrin's extreme speed. There was still a trace of lingering fear on her face. There was no helping it. Guffrin didn't listen to Rebecca's orders at all and flew over at his fastest speed. He didn't care about his master at all. If it wasn't for Wu Yen grabbing her shoulder, she would have been flung away long ago. Guffrin. Rebecca took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. Why didn't you listen to my orders? Don't blame Guffrin. Wu Yen swept his gaze over the canyon below. There seems to be something under this canyon. Guffrin must have sensed it. That's why he's acting so strangely. Under the canyon? Rebecca was taken aback. She lowered her head and looked at the valley below. This is the outskirts of Fianna Forest? Who knows? Well, who knows? Wu Yen shrugged and narrowed his wine-red eyes. However, I am a bit concerned about the thing inside. Me too. Rebecca nodded solemnly. This is the first time Guffrin didn't listen to my orders. There must be something else under the canyon. Finished? Rebecca turned her gaze to Wu Yen. When their eyes met, Wu Yen immediately nodded. Let's go down and take a look. Rebecca hesitated for a moment. She seemed a bit apprehensive about going alone. However, in the end she couldn't bear to return empty-handed. She clenched her teeth and agreed. Guffrin. Roar. Guffrin let out a small dragon's roar. He flapped his wings and descended into the canyon below. The canyon wasn't very wide, and with Guffrin's huge body, it could barely fit inside. He was barely able to squeeze in. Under Rebecca's careful instructions, Madame Guvelin slowly descended along the cliff in the middle of the canyon, almost touching the sharp rocks on his body. His body was wrapped in a layer of mana, so his movements were extremely slow. Fortunately, the deeper they went into the canyon, the more space there was, the larger the space inside. In the end, the space here was enough for Gu Filin to land with ease. Rebecca hurriedly had Guffrin speed up. It continued to descend. Just as Wu Yen, Rebecca, and Guvelin were about to reach the ground, a sweet female voice that they had never heard before rang out from the bottom of the canyon. The voice turned into an echo that clearly reached their ears. I am your owner. As this voice rang out, the entire canyon fell into a deathly silence. Not long after, a voice filled with astonishment rang out. Hearing the astonished voice, Wu Yen and Rebecca's eyes lit up. It's Yashio. Wu Yen affirmed. This is Yashur's voice. Is it really Yashur? Blake's voice. Rebecca perked up and patted Guvelin's dragon horn. Guvelin, go down. You. However, Guvelin disobeyed Rebecca's order again. His huge body seemed to be frozen in the air. He only let out a slightly fearful roar before falling silent. Guvelin? Rebecca's face was filled with confusion when Guvelin disobeyed her order again. Wu Yen bitterly smiled and patted her shoulder. There must be something below that forced Guvelin to disobey your order. Don't mind it too much. I understand. Rebecca retracted her dazed expression and regained her composure. But how are we going to go down? Hug me. This time, it was Rebecca's turn to be astonished. In exchange, Wu Yen looked annoyed. Are you going to hug me or not? You're not going to hug me and go down by yourself? Rebecca panicked slightly when she heard that. She extended her hands out of reflex and hugged the body that was inches away from her. Only when she felt the scorching heat from his body did Rebecca realize what she had done. Her face actually blushed, which was a rare sight for her. Wu Yen focused his attention on the bottom of the canyon. He casually grabbed Rebecca's slender waist and jumped down. The whistling wind blew past her ears, and only then did Rebecca realize what kind of situation she was in. Wu Yen actually jumped down the canyon. Rebecca couldn't help but close her eyes. Her arms around Wu Yan's waist tightened subconsciously. She only opened her eyes when the wind disappeared. Rebecca was a little surprised when she finally felt her feet on solid ground. She looked around her and took in the scenery around her. Finally, she cast her gaze to the front. but when she did, she froze on the spot. Let alone Rebecca, even Wu Yan was stunned. In front of the two of them, a man and a woman were standing there as if they were confronting each other, staring at each other as if they did not notice that someone was approaching. The man was the missing Yaksu. As for the woman, she was a petite girl. She was about 14 or 15 years old. Her face was as delicate as a doll's and she was only about 1.5 meters tall. Her breasts were only slightly bulging. The girl had long pink hair that resembled cherry blossoms. It emitted a gentle glow under the canyon. Her white and smooth skin also flickered with a pearl-like luster. She was astonishingly white. Of course, this wasn't the most shocking part. What was truly shocking and what stunned Wu Yan and Rebecca was that the girl was completely naked. Yes, she was completely naked. Luoang. President Rebecca. Only now did Yaksu notice Wu Yan and Rebecca's arrival. A trace of joy appeared on his face and he called out happily, waking up Wu Yan and Rebecca from their daze. Wow. Rebecca let out a small cry of surprise. Then, a smile appeared on her face as if she was watching a play. Others have been painstakingly searching for you outside, worried that something might have happened to you. Who would have thought that you would be hiding in a place like this, alone with a naked girl? It seems that I have to re-evaluate my impression of you. Yashio. Wu Yan looked at Yashio with an expressionless face. His tone was devoid of emotion. I'm sorry to disturb you. With that, Wu Yan grabbed Rebecca's hand, turned around and pretended to leave. This made Yaksu pale with fright. Wait. This is a misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. She's my fall. She was just born. Fall? Wu Yan suddenly stopped. Rebecca frowned and looked at Yaksu with distrust. She pointed at the girl. You're saying that she's your fall? Yes. Yes. Yaksu nodded. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. She just came out of my body and became independent. There's no mistake about it. Hey, what do you mean by born from your body? Wu Yan and Rebecca didn't react to Yaksu's words. The girl glared at Yaksu and she yelled at him in a very shrewd manner. I'm just borrowing your body. Don't get carried away. After being yelled at by the girl, Yashu's neck shrunk and he muttered, What's wrong with being a little proud? What did you say? The girl's gaze turned fierce and she tilted her head slightly. When the girl raised her head, Wu Yan and Rebecca saw 2 round protrusions on the sides of the girl's head. The protrusions gave off a soft glow like ivory. That's... Rebecca's face was filled with shock. The horns of a young dragon? Isn't it? Isn't it? Everyone says she's a dragon. Seeing that Rebecca finally understood him, Yaksu beamed with joy. He glanced at the girl and hurriedly looked away, blushing. In any case, President Rebecca, please let her put on some clothes first. Huh? Why do I have to put on clothes? Unfortunately, not only did the girl not appreciate his kindness, she even puffed out her chest without concealing anything. Clothes are just something created by humans to hide their ugly nature. The honorable dragon race doesn't need that kind of thing. I don't care if you need them or not. Just let me put them on. Rebecca smiled as she watched Yaksu and the girl confront each other again. She felt a headache coming on. Wu Yan, who didn't say anything, stared at the girl who was punching and kicking Yaksu and frowned. Chapter 1293. I'm so tired. I'm going to sleep. Wait. That bed is mine. What? You're fighting over a bed with your owner? Since when did you become my owner? Besides, if I give you the bed, where am I going to sleep? Oomph. Aren't you a pet? A pet should sleep on the floor and watch the door. Go lie down there. Who's a pet? You're so noisy. I'm going to stomp you flat. Even if you say that. What? Don't suddenly take off your clothes. I told you that a noble dragon doesn't need clothes. So shut your mouth. Wu! The demonic noise seeped through the walls and ravaged his ears. Lying on the bed, Wu Yan clutched his head in pain. He almost went hysterical. It was only now that Wu Yan realized Yasha's room was right next to his. Why am I so unlucky? Wu Yan wanted to cry but had no tears. He pulled the blanket over his head and tried to reduce the noise. Unfortunately, neither Yashu nor his humanoid fall were louder than normal people. His efforts were futile. If this continued, he wouldn't even have a moment of peace, let alone sleep. He rudely kicked away the blanket covering his body. He resisted the urge to go next door and throw the guy and the girl out of the dormitory. He gnashed his teeth and spat out a resentful voice. I'm starting to hate this academy's board of directors. Although it was just a matter of today, the most troublesome problem student in the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was Yashur. Blake had met with an accident during the Aries Dragon ritual, but it was a blessing in disguise. The news of the birth of Fall in his body quickly spread throughout the entire academy. It was natural. Everyone also knew that Yash's Fall, who had refused to be born for so long, was now born as a young girl in this world. The entire Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was in an uproar. Let's not talk about what the students of the academy thought about this matter, but the higher-ups of the academy almost quarreled over this matter. The reason was naturally the problem of how to deal with Yaksabur. After all, Yahu's Fall wasn't just a dragon. Moreover, she was a young girl. Should he let her live in a dormitory like an ordinary young girl and live a human life, or should he let her be sent to the dragon house and be managed like the other dragons? This problem was truly a headache. The entire staff of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was divided into two factions during the meeting. They argued for an entire day, and in the end, the Academy Council made the decision to temporarily allow Pulav Yashur to live in the dormitory like a normal person. But Ashur himself had to take care of her. Because of this, Yashur's Fall moved into Apollo's abode and lived in the same room as Yashur. At the same time, Wu Yan's nightmare began. Looking at the ceiling, Wu Yan's eyes were lifeless. After a long time, he sighed faintly. It's rare for a nocturnal creature like me to feel sleepy tonight. Now it's impossible for me to sleep. In that case, why don't you have a chat with me, Lord Rune? As soon as Wu Yan finished, a voice suddenly rang out from Wu Yan's room. It startled Wu Yan. He quickly looked for the source of the voice and his brows twitched. Lord Rune, he saw. On the ceiling of the room, a cute maid with short purple hair wearing a not-so-plain maid uniform was hanging upside down like a ninja. She had a polite smile on her face. When Wu Yan looked at her, she jumped down from the ceiling, patted her skirt and bowed. Her movements were extremely elegant. Good evening. No matter how I look at it, no one would think that I'm having a good evening, right? The corner of Wu Yan's mouth twitched a few times and he said weakly. Compared to that, I'm more curious about when you arrived, Corset. I just arrived. Corset raised a finger and winked playfully. So, Lord Rune, you don't have to worry about me finding out that you're doing something shameful in bed. Compared to me, you're doing something shameful, aren't you? Wu Yan put on a fake smile. Breaking into the boys' dormitory in the middle of the night and being alone with a man like me, aren't you afraid of being taken advantage of? Corset's eyes widened when she heard Wu Yan's words. She seemed to be surprised. I'm just a maid, why would Lord Rune fall for me? It seems that you're unaware of your charm. Wu Yan was a little speechless. Putting aside her status, Corset was indeed a very cute person. Although she wasn't as perfect as Rebecca or as elegant as Sylvia, no one would think that she was weaker than Rebecca or Sylvia in terms of appearance. However, judging from Corset's behavior just now, she probably didn't even notice it herself. Forget it? Getting up from the bed, Wu Yan patted his cheeks and looked at Corset. You must have something important to tell me so late at night, right? It's nothing important, I'm just reporting something that Lord Rune asked me to investigate. Investigate? Wu Yan's eyes lit up, and his expression became excited. Is it about Avalon's Holy Dragon royal family? Yes. Corset nodded, but her expression wasn't very happy. Even her smile was gone. Unfortunately, Lord Rune, there isn't much progress on the matter you requested. There aren't even many words related to it. There are only a few records of a dragon similar to the Holy Dragon Emperor, in some ancient legends, but Avalon didn't mention a single word about it. I think it would be difficult to find any information related to Avalon's Holy Dragon royal family in Loriaman's knighthood. Perhaps Loriaman's royal family has important secrets, but investigating this information is against the law. Even I can't do anything about it. At this point, Corset's expression became a little apathetic. She was probably apologetic that she wasn't useful. Although her behavior was somewhat helpless, Corset was indeed a very kind-hearted little maid. All right, it's fine if you can't find anything. Don't take it to heart. Even though he was a little disappointed, Wu Yan still spoke softly. You managed to find some clues in just one day. Even if it's just a legend, it's already very impressive. Before this, I didn't even find a single word related to it. Shirley's family is good at spying, and this is why I came to Lord Rune. Corset shook her head, then her expression turned serious. Since even I can't find any clues related to the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, it proves that this Avalon Holy Dragon royal family is definitely not ordinary. Their involvement might even exceed the level of what the Knight's Kingdom can bear. Corset, please be bold enough to say that if Sir Laurent still wants to continue investigating the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, please reconsider. If something goes wrong, Loriamin's knighthood might be involved. When that happens, both Lord Rune and Corset will be guilty. Looking at the serious expression on Corset's face, Wu Yen became silent. At first glance, Corset's words sounded like she was exaggerating. After all, she said something like, "Even I don't have it." Clearly, Corset was very confident in her ability. In this case, it was not unreasonable for Corset to come here and give him a reminder. Avalon's Holy Dragon royal family might be involved in many aspects. But Wu Yen wasn't going to give up. After all, this was his dungeon mission, wasn't it? I understand. Wu Yen smiled at Corset. I'll proceed with caution. Thank you very much. Corset smiled again. She lifted her skirt and bowed to Wu Yen. Then I'll take my leave first. If Lord Rune needs my help, please don't hesitate. I will. Wu Yen shrugged and he teased her. Then I'll have to trouble you to come to me in the middle of the night. Remember to bring me some benefits. I'll think about it. Corset smiled mischievously, then her body turned into a shadow and disappeared. A cheating maid. Wu Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 1294. In the following days, Wu Yen began to live a leisurely and busy life. The end of the Ares Dragon sacrificial rite caused the academy life of the Ansari State Dragon Riding Academy to start moving forward. Under such circumstances, Wu Yen began to live the same life as every other student in the academy. Every day he would go to the classroom to attend theoretical classes related to dragon breeding, or participate in actual combat exercises with a group of students. He would learn all kinds of dragon riding skills and enrich his experience and knowledge of riding dragons. He lived a very peaceful life. With perfect memory, Wu Yen would be able to get full marks in every theory class he attended. With endless martial training, Wu Yan's dragon riding skills were unmatched in the entire academy. With these two aspects added together, Wu Yan's grades gradually climbed up and he quickly became the first in the school year. At this point, the negative evaluation of Wu Yen completely disappeared from the Ansari Dragon Academy. Now, what Wu Yen left behind in the Ansari Dragon Academy could not be considered a legend nor a miracle. However, his reputation was no longer below the famous True Red Empress Lebecca and Blue Ice Princess Sylvia. The skyrocketing theoretical results and miraculous dragon riding skills gradually raised Wu Yan's reputation. In the Ansari Dragon Academy, he was basically the same as Lebecca and Sylvia. No one didn't mention him. Furthermore, he was far superior to the genius dragon tamer Yashu, who was known as the problematic student. Above Blake. Now, even the people in the Ansari city had more or less heard of Wu Yan's deeds. Now, in the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, if someone were to ask who the strongest person in the academy was, there would definitely be someone who would answer Lebecca. If someone were to ask who the person with the highest status in the academy was, it would definitely be Sylvia. But if someone were to ask who the most talented person in the academy was, it would definitely be the genius dragon tamer Yashu. It would be Wu Yen. Therefore, Wu Yen also got a nickname in the Ansari University's Dragon Riding Academy. He was known as the Rider of the God Race. It meant that the talent of the rider was no longer in the category of humans, but a performance that could only be possessed by a true god. Of course, it would be an exaggeration to say that he was comparable to a god. However, to be able to rise from a cheating student to the top of the school year in less than a month. He even had such a miraculous dragon riding skill. Even the academy's strongest holy dragon Guflin had been tamed by him. These feats shocked the students more than just a little bit. Naturally, even the evaluation of the students was upgraded exaggeratedly. But it was undeniable. Wu Yen had indeed received everyone's approval and no longer had any negative comments. What was worth mentioning was that under Wu Yan's stimulation, Sylvia had also been frantically learning and improving her dragon riding skills. Under such hard work, Lancelot had also grown a lot, and his strength had improved significantly. As for Wu Yen, while he was doing his duty as a student, he was observing Yak from a close distance. This Yak was referring to Yahu's Fall, who maintained her human form. She was also the petite pink-haired girl at the bottom of the canyon that day. The reason for observing Yak was simple. Because Wu Yen suspected that this dragon girl who defied common sense and maintained her human form was very likely related to the Holy Dragon Imperial family of Avalon that he was looking for. Wu Yen had the bloodline of the true ancestor, and had a bloodline level far above humans and dragons. It was also because of this that normal dragons would accept his control, and even the Holy Dragon would show him respect. After recognizing Wu Yen, they made an exception and allowed him to ride just like Guflin. However, Yak, this girl who looked even weaker than the weakest dragon, not only ignored the faint bloodline pressure on her body, she was completely unaffected by it, and would even roar at him with a face full of arrogance sometimes. The respect that normal dragons had for Wu Yan could not be seen from this girl at all. This alone was enough to make Wu Yan suspicious. Maybe it's because AI Ku is too weak, she's as weak as a human. She couldn't sense the bloodline pressure coming from Wu Yan. But there was one time when AI Ku told him about it in front of him. It feels like you're a little different from normal ignorant and stupid humans. The moment he heard this, Wu Yan immediately had this thought in his mind. While ignoring her own bloodline pressure, she could more or less feel something different about him. This Yak was definitely not normal. With this in mind, Wu Yan began to observe Yak, and conveniently asked Yahoo about his participation in the youth ritual. If he could prove that Yak was the last descendant of the Holy Dragon Imperial family of Avalon, then Wu Yan could basically use the bullet of 12 yod bet. When he went to Yahoo's youth ritual, he could carry out his own dungeon mission. Of course, this was a story for later. Today the weather was clear, Wu Yan and Yahoo had just finished their classes. They walked together and headed to the office of the student council. This was because Lebecca had come directly to the first grade classroom of the advanced class in the morning and made a declaration amidst the uproar. Rune, Randall, Yahoo, Blake, come to the student council office after school. I have something to talk to you about. And so, under the envious and jealous gazes of their good friend Ramon, Wu Yan and Yaksa left everyone else and went to the student council office. The student council office was located at the top of the central tower of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy. Although it was not very big, the layout was more luxurious than the dean's office. Just the door alone gave off the feeling of a famous museum or conference room. Standing in front of the magnificent door, Yashu fidgeted around nervously. He glanced at Wu Yan, who didn't seem to care about anything, and he couldn't help but feel sad. Ever since the establishment of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, the student council had great power. Not only could they interfere with the matters of the Academy Council, they could also obtain a seat in the Ansari City Council. The authority of the student council president was above the mayor. Moreover, the student council president was the famous Empress Zhen Hong. To a commoner like Yahoo, it was natural for him to feel restrained. At this moment, Yahoo was surprised by Wu Yan's casual attitude. After all, Randall was Lebecca? Everyone in the academy knew about Randall's guard. Didn't he need to be more respectful? You're already here? Then come in. While Yashio was still thinking about this, an extremely elegant and beautiful voice reverberated in his ears from within the door, causing Yashio to be completely startled. Even his body trembled. You. Seeing Yahoo's reaction, Wu Yin shook his head with a smile. Be more casual. Don't look at Lebecca. She's very friendly. If you're too restrained, she'll be unhappy. After speaking, Wu Yin opened the door and walked into the student council office. Yahoo was stunned and quickly followed. Walking into the office, the first thing Wu Yan and Yahoo saw was the owner of this place. Lebecca stood in the center of the office with her hands crossed in front of her ample chest. She looked at the two people who walked in with a smile on her face. Her beauty and fiery red hair complemented each other, creating a terrifying aura. Her voluptuous body was full of curves, emitting an unconcealable temptation. Even if it wasn't the first time Yahoo saw this breathtaking beauty, he still felt his heart tighten. Lebecca was a legend. Not only did she have extraordinary beauty, she was also a famous Holy Sky Dragon Knight. She was a powerhouse respected by everyone in the entire Ansari state. Her fame spread throughout every territory of the Night Kingdom of Loria. Even the most famous and honorable Lorraine Kingdom's Sacred Sky Dragon Knights only had 10% of their members who were Sacred Sky Dragon Knights. Lebecca was able to achieve such fame at such a young age. One could imagine what kind of position she had in the hearts of ordinary students. Yahoo was definitely not an ordinary student. His title of Genius Dragon Tamer was spread to every corner of the academy. However, he was only a commoner. Even if he had the title of Genius Dragon Tamer, he was only an ordinary student. In front of Lebecca, he couldn't help but feel uncomfortable. Noticing this, Lebecca chuckled and lowered her voice. You're welcome. Take a seat. Yes. Yashio hesitated for a bit before walking over. Wu Yin couldn't help but bitterly chuckle. He's even more bashful than a girl. Chapter 1295. Inside the student council office, Lebecca opened up the tea set and the teapot. She smiled at Wu Yin and Yashio, who were sitting across from her. Is black tea okay? Not only did Yasha's expression stiffen, even Wu Yin didn't look too happy about it. Rebecca, if I remember correctly, this is the student council office. What are you trying to do by making it look like a restaurant? Isn't it great? Rebecca smiled mockingly. There was once a restaurant that wanted me to be their waiter for a day. Unfortunately, I rejected them. Now that I think about it, I missed the chance to experience being a waiter. The famous True Red Empress went to be a waiter? Wu Yin blinked. He couldn't help but picture Rebecca wearing a waitress uniform in her cute face. He replied without hesitation. Of course. As soon as he said that, Rebecca gave Wu Yin a knock on the head. I'm sure that your imagination is different from a proper waiter's. Wu Yin facepalmed when he heard that. His expression turned a bit bitter. Didn't you say it was great? I'm talking about the experience of being a waiter, not being a female lead in your delusional imagination. Come up with some weird imaginations. You know that too. Oh? So there really is. Ah. That? Yasha raised his hand weakly when he saw Wu Yin and Rebecca leaving him behind and showing off their love. President Rebecca, you called me? You called us here. Is there something you need? Well, it's just some trivial matters. I hope you can relax. Rebecca seemed to have realized that she was playing around with a boy. She coughed and stopped smiling. She went straight to the topic. That par of yours is called Ache, right? How is she now? Ache? Yasha was stunned. He scratched his face. He answered with some uncertainty. It should be considered very good, right? Should? Rebecca raised her eyebrows, causing Yaksu, who had just relaxed, to tense up again. He hurriedly explained. Because I can't bring Yak to class and I can't leave her alone in the boys' dormitory. In the end, Rune said he would help me. He wanted to see if he could find someone to take care of her. I don't know how Yak is doing. Find someone to take care of her? Rebecca looked at Wu Yen and received a nod from Wu Yen. I asked Cosette to take care of Yak. She has nothing to do during Sylvia's classes anyway. Cosette? Rebecca nodded in relief. So that's how it is. Then I can be at ease. Despite saying that, Rebecca's gaze turned sharp. She glared at Wu Yen, who was about to grab the tea. Wu Yen froze in midair. He froze in midair and his body stiffened. Rebecca narrowed her eyes and stared at Wu Yan's face. When she saw Wu Yan's unnatural expression, she revealed a meaningful expression. Your relationship with Cosette seems to have improved by quite a bit. W? Why would you think that? Rebecca clearly didn't have any special relationship with him and he didn't develop any unspeakable feelings with Cosette. However, when Rebecca asked that question, Wu Yin felt an inexplicable sense of guilt, causing a trace of a smile to appear in Rebecca's eyes. It seems that when I didn't know as a guard, you seem to have hidden something from me. Seeing Rebecca's sudden display of aggression, Wu Yin couldn't sit still and turned his head away. He kept recalling in his mind. What did I do to anger Rebecca to make her like this? Rebecca lightly snorted when she saw Wu Yen remaining silent. She sat back down and cast her gaze at Yashur. She coldly asked, Do you want to join the student council? Ha! The sudden invitation stunned Yashur, who had stayed out of the matter. He didn't react for a long time. Join the student council? Yashur stupidly muttered. When Rebecca nodded in confirmation, Yashur panicked. As president, you're not joking, right? No. Rebecca's emerald eyes rippled with seriousness. I'm very serious. But. Yashur was completely flustered. My theoretical results aren't that good. My actual combat results were obtained by riding someone else's fall. Is it alright for someone like me to join the student council? You're underestimating yourself too much. Rebecca shook her head slightly. Just being able to ride someone else's fall is already an amazing ability. Even I can't do that, but you've done it. It proves that you're capable. Does Long have the ability to ride someone else's fall too? Yashur took a deep breath and directed his attention to Wu Yen, who was drinking his black tea innocently as if it had nothing to do with him. Furthermore, his dragon riding technique can be said to be the best in the academy. His theoretical results are also the best in the entire year. He even managed to tame Guffrin, president. He is much more outstanding than me. So, Roan also needs to join the student council and he has already agreed. Rebecca said slowly. I feel that your ability is also extraordinary. Therefore, if possible, I hope that the student union can also recruit you. President Rebecca. Please consider it carefully. Rebecca said with a solemn expression, causing Yashio to hesitate. Right at this moment, Wu Woo! A long rhythmic cry suddenly rang out above the academy, startling all the students. Rebecca and Yashur stood up abruptly and looked out the window. That's a second-level emergency alert. Rebecca went to the window and opened it. She looked out the window and Yashur did the same. Wu Yan didn't know what's going on and he kept asking questions. A second-level emergency alert? What's that? As the land of dragon breeding, Ansari will always encounter emergency situations. Based on the danger caused by these emergencies, the Academy has divided them into several levels of alerts. Rebecca continued to look out the window as she explained without turning her head. A second-level emergency alert means that the dragons in the Academy have suddenly lost control for some reason and left the dragon house. With that, Rebecca and Yashur turned their gazes to a certain corner below. There, a small pterosaur was wantonly running back and forth on the ground like an earth dragon, crashing into one tree after another. A few dragon servants from the dragon house rushed over in a panic and surrounded the pterosaur with weapons that didn't deal much damage. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone present, a figure charged straight towards the frenzied pterosaur and jumped onto its back. It was Sylvia. What is Her Highness doing? Yashur couldn't help but jump in fright when he saw this with his own eyes. That was to be expected. After all, apart from their master, dragons wouldn't allow anyone else to ride on their back. Only Wu Yan and Yashur were exceptions due to different reasons. As for Sylvia, she didn't have the ability to do so. Thus, the moment Sylvia jumped onto the pterosaur's back and hugged its neck, the pterosaur began to shake its body even more violently. Sylvia could only hold on with all her might, but she wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. And because of Sylvia's actions, Long Ding was at a loss for what to do and panicked. That idiot. Wu Yan didn't care about Sylvia's identity as he cursed out loud. He jumped out of the window and charged towards Pterosaur and Sylvia. Wrong. Yashur was shocked to see Wu Yan jump out of the window. Rebecca watched closely as Wu Yan charged out, a strange look of anticipation in her eyes. Let me see more of your talents. Calm down. On the other side, Sylvia hugged the pterosaur's neck with all her might while suppressing the fear in her heart. The strength in her body was gradually dissipating. Competing with a dragon in terms of physical strength was undoubtedly a foolish thing to do. But Sylvia had done it. Even if she didn't regret it, she couldn't help but feel fear. It was a mistake and the pterosaur had flung Sylvia out of the window. Chapter 1296. The scene of the sky and earth spinning was imprinted into Sylvia's eyes. When her body was also spinning in the air, Sylvia's screams also resounded through the sky. It was clearly a young pterosaur that hadn't even grown its wings yet and couldn't fly. However, Sylvia's voluptuous body was thrown high into the sky by the other party's fling, and she flew out fiercely like trash. In such a position, if she were to land on the ground uncontrollably, then Sylvia's slender body would definitely be severely injured from the impact of the landing. It might even endanger her life. Understanding this, the draconic guards were all shocked. They also let out sharp screams that echoed through the sky along with Sylvia's screams. Just as Sylvia was about to fall to the ground and become the victim of this accident, a figure suddenly charged down from the sky, leaving behind afterimages as it streaked across the sky. It was extremely fast and arrived at a certain location in the blink of an eye. Sylvia's body also flew towards the figure and was picked up by the waist. Then, the figure lightly landed on the ground as if it was weightless. Sylvia, who had closed her eyes and was about to endure the pain of landing, slowly opened her eyes with lingering fear. A face close to her entered her field of vision. Her expression froze in place. Seeing Sylvia open her eyes, Wu Yan coldly snorted and put her on the ground. I'll teach you a lesson later. After saying that, Wu Yan stomped on the ground and flew in front of the pterosaur. He then jumped high into the air and landed heavily with a sharp explosion. Below him was the berserk pterosaur. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. The berserk pterosaur felt as if a heavy mountain had smashed down on its back. It almost hit the pterosaur. The pterosaur thought that someone had overestimated themselves and rode on its back. It was about to explode when a cold voice seemed to freeze the air and entered its heart. Don't mess around. Don't blame me for being merciless. As these cold words were spoken, a wave of pressure from a higher existence pressed down on the pterosaur from above. This caused the pterosaur's body to tremble, and the madness in its heart instantly collapsed. Whoa! The pterosaur, which was as crazy as a beast a second ago, let out a soft moan as if it was begging for mercy. At this moment he suddenly became like a puppy. He opened his teary eyes and laid on the ground, not daring to act rashly anymore. For it, who was still young and had yet to grow, Wu Yan's pressure was really a burden. Therefore it had no choice but to be obedient. Stop. It stopped. The group of draconians who witnessed this scene stared blankly at Wu Yan, who was standing on the back of the pterosaur. Then, as if they had thought of something, they exclaimed in surprise. He's Luoang? Is it Randall? Really? That young rider of the Protoss. No wonder he could subdue the pterosaur so easily. Too powerful. The excited cheers of the dragon subordinates were all heard by Sylvia, making Sylvia feel a little uncomfortable. Why can't I do it? With that thought, Sylvia's eyes welled up with tears. She turned around and wanted to leave the scene. However, as soon as Sylvia turned around, a hand grabbed her and pulled her back. Then, slap. A crisp sound echoed in the air. Sylvia was stunned. It wasn't just Sylvia. The Draconians, Lebecca and Yashur, who were standing by the window of the student council office, as well as the scattered staff who heard the alarm and rushed over, were all stunned. Sylvia stared blankly at Wu Yan, who was standing in front of her with his hand in the air. She reflexively touched her cheek with her hand. The next moment, a strange stinging sensation spread to her nerves. She finally realized she was just slapped by Wu Yan. You. Sylvia stared in disbelief at Wu Yan, who casually withdrew his hand as if nothing had happened. She rubbed her cheek and muttered in confusion. You slapped me? Yes. I slapped you. Wu Yan admitted frankly and looked at Sylvia with a smile. However, there was no trace of a smile in his eyes. It was chilling. What? Your Highness, are you going to punish me? Sylvia yelled at Wu Yan in a fit of rage when she heard that. What right do you have to hit me? Just because you have a disgusting head. Wu Yan didn't care about Sylvia's identity as princess at all. He didn't care about the crowd's stunned expressions. Do you know that you almost died just now? What does my death have to do with you? Sylvia's anger, resentment, and all other emotions exploded with Wu Yan's slap. What is your relationship with me? Do I need to be slapped because I'm an eyesore to you? That's right, you have nothing to do with me. So, if you want to die, please find a place with no one around and die on your own. Wu Yan laughed coldly. Let's see if the fourth princess of the Night Kingdom of Lorea overestimated herself and fell to her death while riding another dragon, sounds better? Or, the fourth princess of the Night Kingdom of Lorea committed suicide because she lost to someone else and couldn't get first place, sounds better. You. Sylvia's face turned ghastly pale. What? Not saying anything? Wu Yan didn't show any mercy as he looked at Sylvia's pale face. Risking your life to challenge another dragon? Isn't it because you don't have the ability that others have, so you feel indignant, unwilling to admit defeat and unwilling to see it happen? That's why your IQ dropped. You thought that if others could do it, you could also do it, so you jumped over. Isn't that right? You don't understand how I feel at all. With a pale face, Sylvia tried her best to hold back her tears as she shouted at Wu Yan. However, Wu Yan responded coldly. Indeed, I don't understand how you feel, nor do I understand what kind of obsession you have in your heart. However, I can't be like you and watch my friend die with a cold face. Friend. Sylvia was stunned. Riding another dragon won't bring you any pleasure, nor will it make you stronger. Wu Yan pointed at the pterosaur that just went berserk. If riding that little fellow can satisfy you, then I definitely won't stop you. Sylvia was speechless at Wu Yan. No matter what kind of dragon you ride, it won't bring you as much joy as watching your own dragon grow. Don't you understand? Wu Yan glanced at Sylvia before turning around. If you really want to become stronger, then Lancelot is the only dragon in your eyes. He is the one that you can rely on to become stronger. On the other hand, if what you mean by becoming stronger is nothing more than neglecting the essentials and focusing on trifles to prove that you have the talent that others have that you can have as well, then I advise you to give up early and obediently be a princess. With that, Wu Yan didn't look at Sylvia anymore and left the scene. Sylvia still stood there, covering her face as she looked at Wu Yan's back. She didn't say anything for a long time. In the student council office, Yashur looked at Wu Yan dumbly as he left, full of admiration. He's really strong. Lebecca couldn't help but smile. Her smile was strangely beautiful. After leaving everyone's sight, Wu Yan stopped and sighed. I know you're here, Corset. I'm afraid you're the only one in the academy who slapped Her Highness Lord Roland? Behind a tree on the side, Kursel walked out with a bitter smile. After being slapped by you, Her Highness will be disappointed for a long time. Her head is as hard as an ox's. Wu Yan snapped at Corset. So please keep an eye on her, don't let her go down a dead end. Thank you for your concern, Lord Roland. I'll accept it on behalf of Her Royal Highness. Cosette smiled, lifted her skirt and bowed. Please continue to teach Her Highness from now on, Lord Roland. With that, Cosette turned around and ran in the direction of Sylvia, causing Wu Yan to shout in ridicule. Remember to give her benefits next time. Being a maid is a benefit in itself. With these words, Cosette disappeared from the scene. Chapter 1297. Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, 7th Dragon House. In the dragon room that belonged to Lancelot, Lancelot, covered in silver-white fur, was lying on the floor with his mouth wide open as he munched on an extra-large portion of beef placed in front of him. Judging from the speed at which he ate and the faint pleasant dragon roar, it was obvious that he was in a good mood. Sylvia, in her uniform, stood beside Lancelot, wiping its body as she watched it happily eat, but her heart was filled with bitterness. Lancelot wasn't a particularly gluttonous dragon. He rarely displayed a particularly good mood because he was able to eat good food. As Lancelot's master, Sylvia couldn't be more clear about this. However, recently, Lancelot had been in a particularly good mood every time he ate. When it was time to eat, he seemed particularly eager and impatient. When it was time to eat, he was in a very good mood. Due to his joyful mood, his performance was much better than usual when he practiced his dragon riding skills with Sylvia. All of this was due to the food that Lancelot loved so much. And this food was personally prepared by Wu Yan. Ever since he tasted Wu Yan's food, Lancelot completely fell in love with Wu Yan's cooking and displayed an unprecedented desire to pursue it. Now, Lancelot would leave the 7th Dragon's house almost every day when it was time to eat. When he returned, there would be an extra portion of delicious food in his mouth. After returning to his own dragon room, he would happily eat. Long Ding of the 7th Dragon House didn't know where Lancelot went after leaving the 7th Dragon House without permission or where the food came from. However, Lancelot didn't cause any trouble when he left. They were happy to be idle and let it go. Only Sylvia knew that ever since Lancelot tasted Wu Yan's food for the first time, every time he left the dragon house without permission, it was to look for Wu Yan. The food he brought back was also made by Wu Yan. It wasn't just Lancelot. Even Guffrin, who was tamed by Wu Yan, was the same. When it was time to eat, he would leave the dragon house without permission and look for Wu Yan to ask for food. In other words, almost 50% of Lancelot's growth during this period was due to Wu Yan's food. Sylvia's mood darkened when she thought of this. Herself. I lost to him again in another aspect. On top of that, even his fall had received his care. He had contributed to his growth as well. He was truly outstanding. Compared to him, she really was like a child. She recalled how she recklessly challenged a berserk dragon to prove that she had the ability to ride another fall and was slapped by Wu Yan. Sylvia subconsciously touched her face. It was as if it was still aching. Sylvia knew that she didn't have any talent. It wasn't that she didn't have the talent to ride another fall, it was that she didn't even have the talent to become a dragon nurturer. Loriaman had a rule that all citizens of 7 years old must go to a Bayan forest to undergo the youngling ritual and have the dragon mother appraise them to see if they had the talent to become a dragon nurturer. If they did, they would receive the dragon mother's nursery and receive the star carving. They would become a dragon nurturer. If they didn't, the dragon mother wouldn't even appear in front of them and they could only leave dejectedly. Logically speaking, Sylvia who obtained Lancelot should have the talent to become a dragon nurturer. However, only Sylvia knew that during the youngling ritual when she was 7 years old, she didn't get the chance to become a dragon nurturer. In fact, she didn't get chosen. The only reason she was able to obtain Lancelot and become a dragon nurturer was because someone had given her a hand. Sylvia couldn't help but recall the conversation she had with him when she was 7 years old. Why do you want to become a dragon nurturer so badly? Woo, because, I must have my own fall. Why? Because, I want to become a great knight. Knight? But I didn't get chosen. The dragon mother didn't give me her nursery. I failed to live up to my royal father and royal sister's expectations. I can't become a great knight. I. Woo. Sigh. Alright, stop crying. Woo. Alright. Stop crying. Didn't you want a fall? I'll give you one, alright? D'you give me one? In the dimly lit forest, he pressed a mysterious ball of light into the body of the 7-year-old Sylvia. In that instant, Sylvia felt that some sort of change seemed to have occurred in her body. Then a star carving appeared on Sylvia's body. I have fall now? Amen. I've given you fall. So stop crying, okay? But is this okay? Well, it's useless to give it to me. I don't really need it anyway. If you need it, I'll give it to you. Alright, I'm leaving. Remember, stop crying. Wait. Big brother. What's your name? Me. My name is Wu Yan. Sylvia muttered subconsciously, calling out that name that was etched in her heart. Then she thought of her own performance, and her bright and beautiful eyes were filled with heart-wrenching gloom. She even began to mock herself. If Big Brother sees me now, he'll be very disappointed, right? As Sylvia said that, she even had an extreme thought. If he had entrusted Lancelot to someone else, then Lancelot would be better than staying by her side, right? Perhaps he might even be stronger than when he was by my side. That might not necessarily be the case. After all, she didn't have the talent to be a dragon nurturer, did she? Just as that thought rose in her mind, a familiar voice that was also etched in her heart coldly echoed in Sylvia's heart. No matter what kind of dragon you ride, it won't be as joyful as watching your own dragon grow. Don't you understand? If you really want to become stronger, then Lancelot is the only dragon in your eyes. He's the one you need to become stronger. And if what you mean by becoming stronger is nothing more than neglecting the essentials and focusing on trifles to prove that you have the talent that others have that you can have as well, then I advise you to give up early and just be a princess obediently. The cold voice was like a bucket of cold water that poured over Sylvia's heart. She, who had almost gone to the extreme, suddenly came back to her senses. No, I can't think that way. Sylvia hurriedly shook her head and took a deep breath to get rid of the distracting thoughts in her mind. He's right. I only need Lancelot. I only need Lancelot in my eyes. He's the one I need to become stronger, not to prove that I have the talent to be a dragon nurturer. Become stronger. I have to become stronger. Sylvia's dim eyes lit up as she clenched her fists tightly. To not let down Big Brother who entrusted Lancelot to me, I have to become stronger. I have to become stronger. Kaboom. Just as Sylvia's fighting spirit was reignited, a thunderous boom came from the sky outside. The sudden sound of thunder caused Sylvia's face to turn pale with fright. Her awe-inspiring image was shattered, and she covered her ears like a timid little girl, trembling as she squatted down. Although it was hard to imagine, the famous Princess Blue Ice was indeed afraid of thunder. Roar. While Sylvia crouched down in fear, Lancelot stood up abruptly and let out a huge roar filled with enmity towards the window. It was as if he had seen a parasite. It was only then that Sylvia, who was trembling as she lifted her head to look outside the window, realized that the clear sky outside was now covered in a thick layer of ominous dark clouds. It was pitch black and hard to imagine. What is that? Looking at the sky covered by ominous dark clouds and the sticky feeling of discomfort that permeated the air like a rotten swamp, Sylvia's icy blue eyes trembled violently, and a trace of unease surfaced in her heart. Chapter 1298. The originally clear sky was instantly covered by a thick layer of dark clouds like a lake that had been filled with dirty water. The dark clouds stirred into a black whirlpool that slowly rotated. Inside, traces of red lightning surged back and forth, bringing with them frequent rumbles of thunder. In Apollo's abode, Wu Yan was reading a few scattered legends about dragons similar to the sacred dragon emperor that Cosette brought him. His hand that was flipping through the book suddenly paused and he looked out the window. Looking at the whirlpool of dark clouds and flashing red lightning, Wu Yan's frown deepened and he stood up from his bed. Something's not right. Wu Yan wasn't the only one with such thoughts. The strongest student council president of the Ansari Academy also had the same thought. The proof was Guffrin's enormous body suddenly soared into the sky under Wu Yan's gaze and stopped above the academy. Lebecca in her uniform was standing on a rotating magic formation. Her emerald eyes first glanced at the ominous clouds in the sky before looking in Wu Yan's direction. Roland. Lebecca raised her voice and shouted at Wu Yan as if she already knew that he would be standing by the window in his room. You feel it too? Lebecca. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes, he nodded and he replied. That's definitely not natural. Someone is messing with us. I think so too. Lebecca raised her head, her beautiful face suddenly becoming serious. She closed her eyes. Lebecca opened her red lips and slowly spoke. Her solemn voice echoed in the sky. In Lebecca's name? I command in the name of Randall. Present the holy knight armor, you forged to me. Roar. As Lebecca's solemn voice echoed, a red light flashed in Guffrin's eyes. He opened his mouth and roared. Two magic arrays less than 10 centimeters apart rippled out from Guffrin's body and enveloped Lebecca as if they were rising into the sky. The magic formations gradually slid over Lebecca's voluptuous body, causing her to emit an intense light. Within the light, two ripples appeared. The magic formation slid over Lebecca's body and had the opposite effect. The other dissolved all of Lebecca's clothes into light. The other condensed into a set of armor that looked like a tight suit and covered her body. By the time the light dissipated, a set of sacred and alluring skin-tight armor had replaced Lebecca's original clothes, becoming her strongest weapon. Lebecca. Randall, level 70. Guffrin, level 70. Lebecca, who had instantly transformed into a Valkyrie. He could clearly feel the sharp aura and surging mana fluctuations coming from her body. She was just an ordinary person a second ago. Wu Yan's lips slowly curled up. I see. So this is the magic equipment of this world's sacred knight armor. Rune. Lebecca, who had no idea Wu Yan was observing her sacred knight armor, crouched down and grabbed Guffrin's fur. She called out without turning her head. I'll go over first. If you want to come over, go to the dragon house and borrow a dragon. I have a feeling things aren't as simple as they seem. After saying that, Lebecca rode Guffrin and turned into a red blur. She flew toward the center of the whirlpool of dark clouds. Borrow a dragon? Wu Yan scratched his cheeks. He had a helpless expression on his face. Looks like Lebecca has subconsciously forgotten about my own fall. But that's fine too. A black and white dragon isn't suitable for an appearance here. After saying that, Wu Yan jumped out of the window and landed on the ground. He charged forward. The strongest sacred dragon in the academy was Guffrin. No one could find an existence comparable to Guffrin. However, Guffrin wasn't the only sacred dragon in the academy. There were 4 other sacred dragons. Wu Yan didn't plan on using his familiar to impersonate Fall in a situation like this. But if he wants to borrow a dragon, he's going to borrow as strong a dragon as he can. So he set his sights on the other sacred dragons. The 7th dragon house was a place provided by the Ansari Academy for sacred dragons to rest. Wu Yan's target was the 7th dragon house. When Wu Yan arrived at the 7th dragon house, there was already someone there. Sylvia? Wu Yan called out in surprise when he saw Sylvia holding Lancelot's reins at the entrance of the 7th dragon house. Rune. Sylvia, who was observing the sky with a serious expression, followed the sound, and when she saw Wu Yan standing there with an astonished expression, her serious expression crumbled and turned into an unnatural one. Wu Yan had just taught her a lesson and slapped her in the face. Now that she saw Wu Yan, she felt awkward. Not just Sylvia, even Wu Yan's expression became a bit resentful. He opened his mouth and was about to say something when his expression changed. He abruptly lifted his head and looked at the horizon. Under Wu Yan and Sylvia's watchful eyes, a magic formation of the same size as the dark cloud vortex appeared without any warning and covered the dark clouds. Shortly after, a gigantic dragon twice the size of Guffrin, with dark gray fur and bulging muscles, with a decaying aura, emerged from the magic circle and descended from the sky. Roar, a frightening roar that shook one's heart echoed through the pitch-black sky like a demon. It turned into sound waves that reverberated in the air. It even reached the ears of Wu Yan and Sylvia, who were looking up from the academy. That's... Sylvia looked at the naked giant dragon in disbelief. She couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Her delicate body trembled and her eyes were filled with fear. What is that? Tisich. Wu Yan curled his lips and turned to look at Sylvia. Sylvia, ride Lancelot and bring me there. Wah. Sylvia's panic turned into fear when she heard Wu Yan's words. She shook her head with all her might without thinking. No. I don't want to. Wu Yan didn't expect to receive such an answer. He paused and became angry. Why? That kind of monster. Sylvia's shoulders trembled, the fear in her heart written all over her face. I don't want to go near it. Wu Yan clenched his fists. His eyes flashed with a cold light. I thought you were just a little stubborn. I didn't expect you to be a coward who doesn't even dare to face the enemy. It's a sin for the Loriaman royal family to have a princess like you. What did you say? Sylvia's body trembled. She was stunned on the spot. That dragon is clearly very dangerous to Ansari City. It's even destroying it. Wu Yan looked at the giant dragon that was spitting dragon breath to destroy Ansari City. His mocking voice reverberated towards Sylvia. The citizens of Ansari City are facing danger. A princess like you actually doesn't care about the safety of your own country's citizens. You plan to hide here like a coward. What an eye-opener. I. Sylvia's body trembled again and again. Her pretty face was as white as paper. Forget it, it's the same if I go alone. Wu Yen glanced at Sylvia and walked to Lancelot's side. Lend Lancelot to me. Lend Lancelot? Sylvia was stunned again. She quickly shook her head. No. How can Lancelot fight that kind of monster? He can't even compare to it in terms of size. Ha! Wu Yen laughed. His laughter was unusually sarcastic. You want to impose your own incompetence on your fall? You're really something, aren't you? No. It's not like that. Aren't you the one who knows Lancelot the best? Wu Yen coldly interrupted. In your heart, is Lancelot a holy dragon that can't even defeat that disgusting reptile? This? Seeing Sylvia's confused look, Wu Yen sighed. He turned around and patted Lancelot's head. Lancelot, since that's the case, let us show your owner just how strong you are. Roar! Lancelot roared without hesitation and obediently lay down in front of Wu Yen. Lancelot. Sylvia was stunned when she saw Lancelot's expression of submission. Now is not the time for you to be in a daze. Wu Yen grabbed Sylvia by the waist and jumped onto Lancelot's back amidst Sylvia's shriek of surprise. Come and see for yourself. See how strong Lancelot is. Roar! Lancelot let out a hot-blooded dragon roar. He kicked his four limbs and soared into the sky with a muffled sound. Chapter 1299. Roar! The roar that turned into a strong storm swept through the entire area, instantly blowing the glass and wooden tiles of all the surrounding buildings into pieces. Like garbage, the sound waves shot out like bullets, destroying all the buildings on the scene. Boom! The dark gray dragon stomped its foot on the ground. With its foot as the center, the ground cracked inch by inch, bringing with it a nauseating stench that filled the square below. What is that? Wah! Run! It wasn't until this time that the crowd in the square began to flee in panic, fleeing aimlessly into the distance. Although the security officers of Ansari State suppressed the fear in their hearts, tried to maintain order, evacuate the crowd, and seek refuge, it was still difficult to control the panic of the crowd. The huge square was like a battlefield. Countless guests rushed out of the surrounding buildings and scattered crazily with the fleeing crowd. They completely ignored a portion of the people who fell in panic. Some of them even cruelly stepped on their bodies in order to escape the scene. The plaza was already in a state of panic. Riding on a guffrin, Lebecca saw this scene as soon as she arrived. She couldn't help but grit her teeth and look forward. Her beautiful emerald-like eyes emitted a rarely seen sharpness. A ferocious flow of magic reverberated from her body and filled the entire plaza. Then a golden magic array flashed above Lebecca's head, emitting a dense golden light. Appear. A magic spear that can kill in one hit. With a stern shout, Lebecca extended one of her hands and grabbed at the magic array above her head. She clenched her fist, and the next moment Lebecca clenched her fist. A huge black and red spear that looked like a drill appeared in her hand. It was a magic device unique to every Holy Knight's armor. If the elves' defensive barrier was spiritual equipment, and the true power of the elves lay in the angel, then the Holy Sky Dragon Knight's defensive barrier would be the Holy Knight armor, and the true power of the Holy Sky Dragon Knight lay in the Holy Knight armor. This was the intrinsic magic device of the Holy Knight armor. Its name is Borgu. Lebecca opened her eyes and a sharp glint flashed through them. She grabbed the drill-like spear and tensed her body, forcefully projecting her intrinsic magic device. His name was Kai. Borgu's magic spear turned into a flash of light, accompanied by a sharp piercing sound that made people's ears hurt. It was as if it had traveled through space, and before the dark gray dragon could react, it struck its head. Bam! A dense flash of light pierced through the entire area, and the loud rumble caused the atmosphere to tremble. The giant dragon's head was easily pierced through, and it exploded into pieces, causing a burst of black smoke. It shrouded the dragon's missing head. Phew! Lebecca involuntarily let out a sigh of relief, but her expression soon changed. The black smoke slowly dissipated, exposing the ferocious and terrifying headless appearance of the giant dragon in the air. Not a single drop of blood flowed out of the wound on its neck. There were only pieces of rotten flesh. However, the piece of flesh on the decaying wound suddenly seemed to come alive. It began to squirm and quickly spread into the shape of a dragon's head. In the next second, the dragon returned to its original form. What? Witnessing this surreal scene with her own eyes, even Lebecca's expression changed abruptly, and she cried out in alarm. Roar, at this moment. The decaying dragon's ferocious eyes revealed traces of madness. It tilted its body, and the tail hanging behind it swept out like a giant whip. A sharp sound reverberated, and the tail that had turned into a black shadow swept towards Lebeka. Lebeka's eyes narrowed, and with a delicate cry, she reached out with her slender hand. Of course, Lebeka didn't want to use her own hand to receive the dragon's attack. Otherwise, even if she had the holy knight armor, she would be sent flying and heavily injured. After all, no matter how ugly her opponent was, it was still a dragon, and it seemed to be a holy dragon that had matured to a higher level than Guffrin. Receiving its attack with her bare hands was definitely a foolish thing to do. Thus, Lebeka mobilized the magic power of the holy knight armor, and through the rider's consciousness, it fused with Guffrin's magic power and instantly superimposed. Roar! Guffrin let out a roar that wasn't any weaker than the decaying dragon's roar from before. His forelimbs stretched out like Lebeka's, and the magic power in his body and Lebeka's combined turned into billowing waves. Soon after, a magic formation that was as large as Guffrin's body shook, and it blocked in front of Lebeka and Guffrin. Boom! With a loud muffled sound, the decaying dragon's tail slammed heavily into the magic array. The shockwave immediately exploded violently with the dragon's tail and the magic array as the center, causing the surrounding buildings to fall down like building blocks with irresistible force. The most fundamental difference between a Holy Sky Dragon Knight and a Dragon Knight was that the dragon's master didn't have the Holy Knight armor. It wasn't just because the Holy Knight's armor could increase the owner's combat strength. It could also increase the owner's own false strength. Under such circumstances, 1 + 1 was definitely more than just 2. This was the true strength of a Holy Sky Dragon Knight. Thus, even though the decaying dragon's growth rate was higher than Guffrin's, its attack was still firmly blocked. Ha! Lebeka let out another shout, and the magic formation that blocked the decaying dragon's tail madly spun, creating a powerful repulsive force. Bang! As if struck by a heavy hammer, the repulsive force fiercely passed through the dragon's tail and landed on the decaying dragon's body. Following a shock wave, the decaying dragon was forced back without any explanation. Its body tilted and heavily smashed into the ground. With a boom, the ground trembled and cracked open inch by inch. Guffrin. Lebeka had no intention of showing any mercy. Together with Guffrin, she was about to pursue the decaying dragon and destroy it once and for all. However, President Lebeka. Stop. Below the square, a sharp cry rang out, causing Lebeka to subconsciously stop her attack. She looked towards the source of the voice and immediately, the image of a male student in academy uniform appeared before her eyes. Lebeka was shocked. Yashur? President Lebeka. You can't attack directly. As Yashur ran over, he shouted his reason at the top of his lungs. Yak. Yak was sucked into that guy's body. What did you say? Lebeka cried out in shock. Roar! In the time it took to cry out, the decaying dragon on the ground suddenly raised its head and opened its toothless mouth at Lebeka and Guffrin. Magic formations filled with boundless magic power shot out and rippled upward. Danger! Yashur's expression changed greatly. Damn it! Lebeka's expression changed as well. In the next instant, layers of magic formations shot out. The ripples in the air condensed into a destructive shockwave and shot toward Lebeka, who was standing above Guffrin's head like a jet of fire. It was an offensive magic unique to the dragon race. It could also be said to be their strongest offensive magic, dragon breath. Lebeka clenched her teeth and extended her paladin armored hand. Strands of magic power surged from her hand as she planned to meet the incoming dragon breath head-on. However, just as the breath of the decaying dragon was about to strike Lebeka, a searing torrent of mana of similar attributes descended from the sky without warning. Shockingly, it was also a dragon's breath. Bang! At the critical moment, the dragon breath descending from the sky clashed with the dragon breath of the decaying dragon in front of Lebeka. It was as if two waves were crashing into each other, causing the atmosphere to reverberate and mana ripples to cancel each other out. Lebeka, who was about to take the attack from the decaying dragon, and Yashur, who was running over, were startled. They looked up at the source of the descending dragon breath. A holy dragon with silvery white fur and a small but familiar body appeared in their field of vision. Two figures were standing on the back of the sacred dragon. Lebeka and Yashur were delighted. Rune? Your Highness. They were Wu Yin and Sylvia, who had arrived on Lancelot the Holy Dragon. Chapter 1300. Corpse Ash Dragon, Level 72. Wu Yin rode on Lancelot with one knee on the ground. He held the reins with one hand and carried Sylvia with the other. She didn't dare to look at the corpse ash dragon. He glanced at the corpse ash dragon and obtained its information through the system. Then he looked at Leibecca with admiration in his eyes. Wu Yen didn't see the entire battle between Leibecca and the corpse ash dragon. However, Wu Yen saw the scene of Leibecca suppressing corpse ash dragon from afar while he was riding on Lancelot's back. Although Leibecca was able to suppress the corpse ash dragon, whose level was higher than hers, not only because of Guvlin's assistance, but also because of her powerful intrinsic magic device. The corpse ash dragon's body had completely decayed, so it definitely wasn't as powerful as a level 72 holy dragon of the dragon race. However, the fact that she was able to suppress the corpse ash dragon in such a short time was enough to prove her strength. If Yashur hadn't shouted something at Leibecca, causing her to stop her attack, corpse ash dragon would have been annihilated by now, wouldn't it? As expected of the strongest existence in the Ansari Kingdom's Dragon Riding Academy, sighing, Wu Yen glanced at Sylvia, who still has her eyes closed. She still has a faint trace of fear on her face. He sighed. Compared to Empress Truard, Princess Blue Ice wasn't as popular, but her reputation was on par with Empress Truard. Yet, there was an absolute difference in strength between the two. Even her mental fortitude was a level lower than Princess Blue Ice. This is truly shocking. However, no matter what, Sylvia's strength as a dragon knight was unquestionable, and she had just been promoted to the first year of the advanced class. She was only 16 years old and had grown up in a greenhouse. Her actual combat experience was all training. She had never fought a real battle before, so he couldn't ask for too much from Sylvia. After all, not every princess is as outstanding as Sylph. Of course. If possible, Wu Yen wouldn't mind helping Sylvia out. Now the timing isn't bad. Open your eyes. The cold words caused Sylvia's shoulders to tremble. She opened her eyes in fear and she looked at Wu Yen with a bit of fear in her eyes. She didn't even care about her shyness. She hugged Wu Yan's neck tightly and stuck to his body. Her voluptuous breasts pressed against Wu Yan's body until they were flat. However, Wu Yen didn't lose his composure. At the very least, he can't afford to be distracted. Take a good look at how weak the person you fear is and how strong Lancelot will become because of his master's strength. Wu Yen slowly closed his eyes and inserted his consciousness into Lancelot's body like the roots of a tree. It entered Lancelot's body and merged with Lancelot's consciousness, transmitting to each other. Lancelot is a divine dragon. But he's only a young divine dragon. Therefore, not only was his physique inferior to Gu Filin's, even his strength was inferior. Of course, his level. Lancelot, level 64. Just like the information from the system, Lancelot is only around the middle of the 7th rank. Even if Lancelot relied on the dragon race's powerful physical strength and dragon blood magic to unleash the power of a peak mid-7th order powerhouse, which was very close to a high 7th order powerhouse, he was still not a match for the 8th order Corpse Grey Dragon. Although the Corpse Grey Dragon can't unleash its full power due to the decay of its body, it's still not something a middle of the 7th rank dragon can deal with. However, the dragon riders in this world are a very special existence. They were able to combine their consciousness with the consciousness of the contracted dragon, thus causing the power that the dragon could exert to fluctuate. Excellent riders can make use of the dragon's power reasonably and send out commands through their consciousness to greatly increase the dragon's power, even surpassing the level it should be at. Like Rebecca and Guvlin. That's it. It's the same the other way around. Weak riders can also use their weak dragon riding skills to affect the dragon's power, causing them to give the wrong command and use the wrong battle method, thus lowering the dragon's power. Wu Yen is the former. Possessing the infinite martial refinement, and having personally battled with experts on more than one occasion, if he were to fuse his consciousness with Lancelot, he would definitely be able to greatly increase Lancelot's power. He can even challenge someone of a higher rank. At this time, Wu Yen connected his consciousness with Lancelot's and conveyed his battle techniques and methods. The best way to unleash power. The fastest flight path. The most complete battle experience. And the strongest battle technique. At this moment, Wu Yen seems to have become Lancelot, controlling Lancelot's body and using endless martial refinement as the foundation to unleash extraordinary power. He opened his eyes and his lips curled into a grin. Hold on tight, don't get thrown out. Sylvia flinched when she heard this. She didn't quite understand what Wu Yen meant. But in the next second Sylvia understood why Wu Yen said that. Roar, like a war horn, Lancelot roared at the sky. The magic in his body surged out and wrapped around his body. In a way invisible to the naked eye, the magic surrounding his body condensed into the shape of a bullet with a sharp front and a cylindrical back. Whoosh, accompanied by a sharp sound, Lancelot broke through the air and his speed increased by more than 10 times as he shot out. Sylvia only felt that the blood in her body was about to be flung out. The powerful centrifugal force made her want to scream, but the moment she opened her mouth, a stream of air rushed into her mouth, causing her voice to be stuck in her throat. Her face was full of shock. Is this really Lancelot flying? This speed, isn't it a little too scary? Don't talk, you'll bite your tongue. Tightening his arms and hugging Sylvia even tighter, Wu Yen lowered his head and glanced at the corpse-gray dragon below. A cold light flashed in his wine-red eyes. Go, Lancelot. Roar, as if he had been waiting for Wu Yen to say this, Lancelot roared. His body spun in the air and shot toward the corpse-gray dragon like an arrow. An ice-blue magic array flashed in front of him, and a scorching dragon's breath burned the air and descended violently. Roar, the corpse-gray dragon did not want to be outdone and roared as well. Magic arrays of different sizes popped out from the front of the dragon's mouth and gradually overlapped. A dragon's breath with a decaying aura shot out from it and met the scorching dragon's breath head-on. Boom, the two surging dragon breaths were like two erupting volcanoes. They collided fiercely in the air, creating a loud explosion. The collision brought about a violent shockwave and sparks, bursting into the entire arena. On the ground, rocks were cracking and buildings were collapsing. Thick smoke and dust were stirred up and spread in all directions. Roar, the corpse-gray dragon's ferocious eyes shone with a crazy light. The magic in its body flowed like water into the magic array in front of its mouth. The decaying dragon's breath was like adding oil to a fire. Its scale expanded instantly and overpowered Lancelot's dragon's breath. In terms of dragon's breath and magic, Lancelot, a holy dragon who had yet to mature, could not compete with the corpse-gray dragon, which had matured even more than Guvlin. However, the lack of dragon's breath and magic did not mean that its strength was the same. Whoosh, with a sharp sound, a black shadow like a drill swept up the surrounding airflow and shot out from the flame-like dragon's breath like a tornado. It split the dragon's breath in half, broke through the dragon's breath in the atmosphere, and hit the corpse-gray dragon's decaying body heavily. Boom, roar, a thunderous explosion resounded through the clouds and created a sound wave. The corpse-gray dragon roared again, but its roar was mournful. Instead of sounding mighty, it was filled with pain. Its huge body turned into an afterimage and shot backward like a marble. It smashed into a mountain not far from Ansari City. With a muffled sound and dust filling the air, the corpse-gray dragon's body was embedded in a layer of rock, forming the shape of a dragon. It was only then that the rapidly spinning drill bit stopped spinning after the dragon's breath was broken. A dragon's silhouette appeared, and it flew upward in a spiraling manner. That dragon image was Lancelot. Rebecca was stunned. Yashur was also stunned. The drill bit just now was actually formed by Lancelot's rapid rotation. Chapter 1301. Using the body as a weapon had always been a dragon's specialty. However, Rebecca and Yashur didn't think that Lancelot's method of spinning his body into a drill bit was his fighting style. No, it should be said that no dragon would want to do such a thing. It was no longer a matter of whether or not a dragon wanted to do it, it was a matter of whether or not they could do it. Even though it seemed very powerful, there was a fundamental problem. With the rotation of the dragon at such a high frequency, would the rider be able to ride the dragon stably in such a situation, let alone the feeling of the dragon itself? Naturally, the answer was no. However, Wu Yen, who was still riding steadily on Lancelot's back without a change in expression, told Rebecca and Yashur that he had done it. This was no longer something that could be described as a miraculous dragon riding skill. It was a terrifying dragon riding skill that could explain Rebecca and Yashur's current state of mind. If even Rebecca and Yashur were like this, there was no need to even mention Sylvia, who was riding on Lancelot's back. Sylvia's head was still dizzy from the extreme spinning just now, and a faint feeling of wanting to vomit continuously assaulted her mind. Sylvia resisted the urge to vomit, her heart completely enveloped by a feeling of disbelief. Was this what true power was like? Was this the level that Lancelot could reach? Was this the miracle that a rider could achieve? Was this what she was lacking in? So there was an excellent rider. Lancelot could be this strong. Sylvia's fear of the corpse-ash dragon was overshadowed by these thoughts. At this moment, Sylvia finally understood that the reason she was afraid of the corpse-ash dragon was not because it was too powerful, but because its appearance was too ferocious. She was just like an ordinary girl who was afraid of it. Saying that Lancelot wasn't a match for this monster was just a cover for her cowardice. Understanding this, Sylvia's heart. She was immediately filled with disappointment and sadness. Herself. She was still a coward in the end. Humans have to constantly look forward. Just as Sylvia's heart was filled with disappointment and gloom, a familiar voice suddenly echoed in her heart, causing Sylvia's entire body to tremble. It's precisely because you're too weak that you want to become stronger. It was also because of his own weakness. That's why I want to be strong. So, if you want to become strong, you must first admit that you are too weak and want to become strong. You have to admit your weakness. Since you've made a mistake, you should bravely admit it. Isn't that the Wang family's teachings? Like the light that pointed out the path, the stern yet gentle words pierced deeply into Sylvia's heart like a sharp sword, shattering all the confusion in her heart and enlightening her. That's right. Since you've made a mistake, you should bravely admit it. Isn't that the Wang family's teachings? I was too muddle-headed. The dizziness and nausea disappeared along with the confusion in her heart, and Sylvia's icy blue eyes regained their original luster. Seeing this scene, Wu Yan smiled. His smile was very gratified. At least he didn't waste all his saliva. He raised his head and looked forward. Seeing the corpse dragon shatter the surrounding rock layer and climb out of the mountain, Wu Yan revealed a bloodthirsty smile. Since the matter with the princess was settled, there was no point in keeping this disgusting dragon alive. Lancelot! Roar! As Wu Yan coldly shouted, Lancelot's eyes flashed with a bloody light. He raised his head and forcefully inhaled towards the sky with his large mouth. Streams of air that could be seen with the naked eye followed Lancelot's roar like flowing water, surging towards Lancelot's dragon head and rapidly rotating. An ice-blue magic array shook the air and suddenly expanded. Together with the swirling airflow, it condensed into a halo and covered the fluctuating magic array wheel. That's. Rebecca and Sylvia's pupils shrank at the same time. Exerting a certain frequency of vibration to cause the surrounding atmosphere to vibrate, and using the vibrating atmosphere to form an impact. Wasn't that the sword skill Wu Yan used to tame Guffrin, chaotic return to horizon dance? The corners of Wu Yan's mouth slowly curled up, and his expression turned serious. Roar! Lancelot roared fiercely, and the scorching dragon's breath once again burst out from the magic array in front of his dragon head. With an irresistible force, it rushed down toward the corpse-gray dragon. However, this dragon breath was different from the ones before. Not only did it form a high-pressure spiral of concentrated dragon breath, but there was also a dazzling halo around the spiral of concentrated dragon breath. Roar! The corpse dragon seemed to sense a strong sense of danger from the dragon breath, and its roar seemed to contain traces of fear. It hurriedly set up overlapping magic formations, and used dragon breath with a decaying aura to meet the spiraling dragon breath. Boom! A violent explosion shook heaven and earth. The two dragon breaths collided with each other in the most violent way possible, and at that moment even space itself seemed to ripple. However, unlike the previous collision this time, Corpse Ash Dragon did not even have the chance to replenish his mana and increase the power of his dragon breath. The spiral-shaped dragon breath with glowing edges pierced through the incoming dragon breath like an arrow piercing through cloth, shattering Corpse Ash Dragon's dragon breath. Boom! Another muffled sound rang out. The spiraling dragon breath descended from the sky, and heavily struck the corpse dragon's decaying body at close range. The chaotic mana shattered the corpse dragon's body. The corpse dragon didn't even have the chance to scream. Its entire upper body was reduced to minced meat by the spiraling dragon breath, and it was incinerated without a trace. Its attack power was comparable to an attack from Rebecca's intrinsic magic device. Lancelot, who used this attack, was only at the intermediate 7th rank. Rebecca, Sylvia, and Yashur widened their eyes in shock, and in return Wu Yan chuckled softly. The principle behind the chaotic return to horizon dance was to apply a certain frequency of vibration to the sword, causing the surrounding atmosphere to vibrate, and using the vibrating atmosphere to form an impact to condense and compress the attack. Here Wu Yan changed the medium of vibration from the sword to Lancelot's dragon breath, and condensed the dragon breath into a spiraling shape, causing the atmosphere to vibrate and form an impact. In that case, the dragon breath unleashed by using the principles of the chaotic return to horizon dance would be the power of Lancelot's own dragon breath combined with the power of the chaotic return to horizon dance, to form a brand new dragon breath. Its name was Perforate Dragon Breath Dance. Done. Perforate Dragon Breath Dance. Sylvia muttered as if she was sleep-talking. What power! Lebeka and Yashur exchanged glances. Follow up the victory. While everyone was still immersed in the might of the perforate dragon breath dance, Wu Yen rode on Lancelot and raised his head to take a deep breath. He planned to use the perforate dragon breath dance again and directly eliminate the corpse gray dragon. Wait, Ron. Yashur hurriedly shouted when he saw Wu Yan's intention. You can't. Yak is in that dragon's body. You'll hurt her if you do that. Wu Yan and Sylvia were slightly shocked when they heard that. They immediately pulled on the reins to stop Lancelot's attack. The moment Lancelot stopped attacking, the corpse ash dragon, which had lost its upper body, let out a furious roar from an unknown part of its body. The flesh on its body wriggled and instantly expanded, condensing into the shape of a dragon. In just a moment, the corpse gray dragon returned to its original state. Before Wu Yen, Lebeka, and Sylvia could react, the corpse gray dragon opened its mouth and set up a dragon breath formation. It launched a violent attack at Yashur, who was still rooted to the spot after shouting, "Watch out." Wu Yen, Lebeka, and Sylvia were shocked when they saw the corpse gray dragon's dragon breath fall on Yashur without warning. Bzz. Suddenly, a dazzling halo flashed from Yashur's body. It shattered the dragon breath into primal magic power and scattered it all over the place. Wu Yen and the others were slightly stunned. At the same time, the halo gradually revealed its original form. It turned into a dazzling knight's armor that appeared on Yashur's body. Traces of magic power surged on it. Holy Knight's armor? The three of them couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Chapter 1302. The sudden change caused everyone present to have a dazed expression on their faces, including Yashur, who was equipped with the Saint Knight armor. This is. Yashur raised his hands and looked at the cold armor covering them. He clenched his fists and a strange power filled his body. Although Yashur had never felt such power before, he instantly understood the essence of this power. It was the magic of the Dragon Clan. In other words, the armor on his body was the genuine Holy Knight armor. I have the Holy Knight armor? I've become a Holy Dragon Knight? Less than a month ago, Yashur, who had been a dragon nurturer who hadn't even been born fall, was at a loss. Yashur seemed to have heard someone's voice and his eyes widened. When he reacted, confidence appeared on his face and he shouted in the direction of the corpse dragon. Thanks. Yak. Lebeka was surprised. Could it be that the Holy Knight armor was given to Yashur by Yak? How is that possible? Sylvia cried out in shock. To create the Holy Knight armor, one must first become a holy dragon. Is Yak a holy dragon? But she was just born. Even if she becomes a holy dragon without a certain amount of magic, she can't create the Holy Knight armor. Yak, on the other hand, is only a baby dragon less than a month old, yet she has enough magic to create the Holy Knight armor. Wu Yan's eyes flickered. Yak, you are indeed not an ordinary dragon. Suddenly Wu Yan felt an intense gaze on him. He narrowed his eyes. Wu Yan pulled on the reins and turned to look in the direction of the gaze. He saw the tallest clock tower in Ansari City. It was so tall that he could see the entire city. At the top of the clock tower, in front of the balcony, a tall, thin, silver-haired man wearing a mask stood there. His hair was silver and his bangs were crimson in color. Next to the man, there was another woman with long black hair tied into a ponytail behind her head. She was a petite girl wearing revealing clothes. The source of the gaze was the silver-haired masked man. Wu Yan frowned when he saw the man and woman. A thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. Your Highness. Below him, Yashur suddenly stomped on the ground and activated the magic power of the Holy Knight armor. He shot up into the sky and turned into a blur. In the blink of an eye, he landed behind Wu Yan and Sylvia and stood on Lancelot's back. You. She looked at the person who could only shout helplessly on the ground a second ago, but at this moment, he was wearing the Holy Knight armor that even Sylvia dreamed of. Sylvia's eyes were filled with complicated emotions as she looked at Yashur, who was emitting a mighty aura. Yashur didn't notice the complicated look in Sylvia's eyes as he stared at the corpse gray dragon below. His first sentence was shocking. I want to ride that dragon. Wow. Sylvia was the first to gasp. Ride that dragon. Are you crazy? No, I'm serious. Yashur's face under the helmet revealed a solemn expression. I can ride any dragon, and with the help of the Holy Knight armor, I might be able to make that dragon listen to me obediently. That way, not only will I be able to stop it from attacking, I might even be able to save Yak inside its body. This? Sylvia was at a loss for words for Wu Yan. Although it sounded ridiculous, it was undoubtedly the most feasible method at this stage. Moreover, Yasuo had the Holy Knight armor. Even if he wasn't careful and took the risk to ride the corpse dragon and failed, he would at least be able to save his own life. Let's give it a try. While Sylvia's face was still filled with uncertainty, below, a strange scene unfolded. Rebecca, who was riding Guffrin and facing off against the corpse dragon, shouted, "Even if we can't ride the dragon, as long as we can merge the rider's consciousness with the dragon's, we might be able to find a way to make it stop." Rebecca has a point. Wu Yin nodded and turned around. Before Sylvia could react, he stuffed the reins in her hands. "Sylvia, why don't you ride on Lancelot and send Yashur over to the dragon?" Me. Sylvia panicked and became uneasy. Aye. What are you afraid of?" Wu Yin pressed down on Sylvia's shoulder. "Didn't you see it just now? Lancelot beat it to a pulp. But you were the one riding Lancelot." Sylvia tightened her grip on the reins and said in a low voice, "I don't have such excellent dragon riding skills like you, I can't display such power. I'm not asking you to fight, I'm just asking you to send Yashur over." Wu Yin gripped Sylvia's shoulder and looked her in the eye. "Don't tell me that you're afraid of sending someone over?" No. Calm down." Wu Yin tightened his grip again. "I'm sure Lancelot would love for you to ride on it and settle this matter personally." Roar. Lancelot immediately let out a long howl and echoed Wu Yan's words. Sylvia was stunned for a moment before her expression settled down and she took a deep breath. "I understand." Taking Wu Yan's place and sitting on Lancelot's back, Sylvia's expression returned to her usual calm and collected self. "Although I can't do what you did, I swear in the name of the Loriaman royal family that I will abandon fear and send Yasha to Blake. Blake, send him to that dragon and face it head-on. That's more like it." Wu Yin and Yasha laughed. Sylvia blushed and looked at Wu Yin suspiciously. "What about you? Look over there." Wu Yin didn't waste time and turned to look at the clock tower. Sylvia and Yasha followed Wu Yan's gaze and looked over. Then, a man and a woman on the clock tower entered their sight. That's suspicious." Wu Yin lowered his voice. "I suspect that they are the culprits behind the dragon's attack on Ansari City, so I want to take a look." "You alone?" Sylvia and Yashur had grave expressions on their faces. "Will it work?" Ha. Wu Yin chuckled. "Who do you think I am?" Wu Yin jumped down from Lancelot's back and he landed firmly on the ground against the howling winds. He then dashed towards the clock tower. He's fine after jumping down from such a high place and he's not even wearing a paladin armor. Yasha was speechless. "Rune, who is he?" I don't know. Sylvia pulled on the reins in her hand and revealed a beautiful smile. "But I'm sure he's a good person." If Wu Yin finds out that Sylvia gave him a card, he would probably reconsider pulling Sylvia in, right? On the other side, at the top of the clock tower, Lord Mikhaos. The dark-skinned, petite girl stared at Lancelot who was flying toward the corpse ash dragon in the sky. Her tone turned solemn. Beside him, the masked man called Mikhaos looked at the sky without any change in his expression. His voice was indifferent. "Looks like we met with an unexpected accident." In his hand was a huge black sword that was more than half the size of his body. It was a giant sword that was as black as ink, with blood-like veins running through it. It gave off an ominous aura as if it was a tainted holy sword. Upon closer inspection, one could see traces of mana fluctuating on the pitch-black greatsword. The experiment failed, Anya. Mikhaos watched with his own eyes as Yaksu jumped onto the corpse grey dragon's back and successfully steered the corpse grey dragon into the sky. He immediately turned around and spoke without any reluctance. "When we get back, investigate that boy and girl." "Girl?" Anya showed a doubtful expression when she heard Mikhaos' words. She knew the boy, he was referring to the one who successfully controlled the corpse dragon. But who was the girl? Saint Heavenly Dragon Knight Rebecca? Randall? Or the fourth princess of House Lormond, Sylvia? Mikhaos didn't answer Anya's questions. He picked up the black greatsword and walked towards the entrance of the clock tower. Retreat. Yes. Despite her doubts, Anya still obeyed Mikhaos' arrangement. However, Mikhaos and Anya who were walking towards the entrance quickly stopped in their tracks. That was because there was already a person standing at the entrance. Chapter 1303. Who is it? Looking at the figure that appeared at the entrance without the slightest warning, the pupils hidden under the mask narrowed slightly. Anya was also startled. She scuttled in front of Mikado's like a guard, grabbing a whip and fiercely lashing it out. A sharp sound of the whip breaking through the air was heard as it lashed forward. Just by the sound, one could tell that its lethality was not low. However, it was a pity that such a powerful attack was caught by a hand in an extremely straightforward manner. That hand forcefully grabbed the whip shadow. Wah! Anya was shocked. She tried to pull her whip back, but it didn't come back at all. She couldn't believe it. Don't look at Anya's extremely petite build. She was born from a rare fighting race, Roast, Scion? Although her fighting ability could not be compared to the dragon race, it was not something that could be easily dealt with by a dragon. That was why Anya had become Mikao's bodyguard to ensure his safety. If this happened to a sacred sky dragon knight equipped with paladin armor, Annie would not be surprised at all. However, she did not see any trace of paladin armor on the other party, not even an ordinary armor. The other party took her attack with a pure human body. Moreover, it was done very easily. This also proved that the other party's fighting ability was at least not below Annie's. We just met and I'm already being treated so rudely. He ignored the whip that was constantly twitching as it tried to break free from his control. Wu Yen first glanced at Annie and then looked at Mikovi's with a smile. It seems that the attack of the corpse ash dragon is most likely related to you. Hearing this, Annie's heart tightened as she realized that she had done something stupid. If she had not attacked just now, the other party would not have any evidence to prove that they were suspicious even if their clothes were a bit special. Thinking of this, Annie clenched her teeth as killing intent appeared in her eyes. Since you've discovered so many things, then please obediently accept your fate. So many things? Wu Yen shook his head. No. At most, I only know that you guys are the culprits behind the corpse ash dragon's actions. I don't know anything else. If possible, I hope you can try your best to answer my questions and let me know more. Don't even think about it. Anya's free hand reached behind her back and pulled out a sharp dagger with a crisp sound. I won't let you get close to Mikao's. Oh, so it's called Wu Yen? Wu Yen nodded in realization, once again making Anya realize that she had done something wrong. She clenched her teeth fiercely, her eyes filled with vigilance. How loyal. Seeing Anya standing in front of Mikao's with a vigilant expression, Lin Sanjiu thought to herself. Wu Yen shrugged. You remind me of Elaine. Both of you are equally loyal. I wonder if the Mikao's you mentioned is as disgusting as Will Scott. You, Anya? Although she didn't know who the Elaine and Will Scott that Wu Yen mentioned were, when she heard Wu Yen calling Mikao's disgusting, she was about to explode but was stopped by Mikao's. Looking past Anya's frail body, Mikao's raised his face that was covered with a cold mask and looked at Wu Yen. You, who are you? Me. Wu Yen raised an eyebrow and looked at his Ansari Dragon Riding Academy uniform. He pretended to sigh. As you can see, I'm just an ordinary student. Ordinary student? Yes. Wu Yen smiled meaningfully. At least for now. Mikao's lowered his head and remained silent. Then, since you asked me a question, I'll ask you a question too. His gaze swept towards the pitch-black greatsword in Mikao's hand. Wu Yen narrowed his eyes when he felt the magical energy and ominous aura fluctuating from it. That greatsword in your hand isn't ordinary, right? This is the product of mechanical engineering that the Empire is proud of and the magical engineering that the dragons have been developing for a long time. In other words, it's the product of magical engineering. Miko-wise didn't hide anything and he didn't mince his words. Wu Yen frowned and his eyes flashed with apathy. Magical engineering? An academic that combines the magic of the dragons and mechanical engineering. This is the pride of the Cypheros Empire. You're from the Empire? The two strongest countries on the Uruxtran continent, the Shepron Kingdom and the Cypheros Empire, once fought a great war. Now, although the war had stopped, the Cold War between the two countries was still going on, and it had lasted for a full 50 years. Therefore, the relationship between the Shepron Kingdom and the Cypheros Empire, not to mention good, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was bad. Under such circumstances, no one would believe that someone from the Cypheros Empire would appear in the knighthood of Lorimon without any ulterior motives. After all, although the Lorea Kingdom occupied the heart of the Uruxtran continent, it was only a small country and a vassal state. It was a vassal state that belonged to the Shepron Kingdom. In other words, the relationship between the Lorea Kingdom and the Cypheros Empire was close to being hostile. If that was the case, it would explain why the other party had sent a corpse ash dragon to attack Ansari City. To the people of the Cypheros Empire, the Lorea Kingdom was also hostile. No matter how many people died, they wouldn't feel any heartache. Naturally, no matter how many people were killed, it would be taken as a matter of course. That dragon doesn't look like an ordinary dragon, Wu Yan said as he swept his gaze towards the corpse ash dragon that was being taken away by Yashu. Not only is its body decaying, its fighting strength is weaker than a dragon of the same level. It also knows how to regenerate. It can't be killed no matter what. It can't be that it has something to do with that sword, right? This sword can use the ashes of dead dragons as a medium to allow dragons to return to this world and be controlled by the wielder to become a fighting force. Mikvis was silent for a moment before answering. You even guessed that, as expected. You're not an ordinary student. No wonder you can gather around the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. Wu Yan's heart trembled. He raised his head and his gaze shot towards Mikvis like lightning. The last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family? You said that AI is the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family? You actually know about the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family? Makawo's voice was filled with surprise as well. That's strange. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be anyone who knows about the existence of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. You seem to know a lot of things. Wu Yan's gaze towards Mikvis changed completely. It was as if he was staring at his prey. I think it's better for you to come with me and have a long talk. My apologies. Mikvis waved his hand and he tossed a black glowing object to Wu Yan. It's a gun. I don't have any intention of going with you. Bang. As soon as he finished speaking, gunshots rang out in the bell tower. Wu Yan didn't expect the opponent to use a gun. His expression froze. His body tilted to the side and the black bullet scattered the afterimage he left behind. He dodged the bullet. Anya was shocked. Run. Mikvis made a prompt decision to retreat. He quickly fired at Wu Yan while retreating towards the balcony with his greatsword. Trying to escape. Wu Yan's eyes flashed with a cold glint. With a leap, he dashed out like a phantom. He dodged the incoming bullets and arrived in front of Mikatas. While Mikatas's expression changed slightly, Wu Yan reached out his hand and grabbed Mikatas's hand that was holding the sword. This. Mikvis clenched his teeth and forcefully twisted his hand. The next moment, something that even Wu Yan didn't expect happened. With a crack sound, Makawo's hand was severed at the base, and his figure retreated explosively. Only then did Wu Yan realize that Mikvis' hand was actually a prosthetic. Wu Yan was taken aback by the sudden turn of events. In the blink of an eye, Mikvis picked up Anya's petite frame and jumped off the balcony before falling off the clock tower. Wu Yan reacted and quickly grabbed the black greatsword left behind by Mikvis. He rushed to the balcony and looked down. Unfortunately, Mikvis and Anya were long gone. Looking at the black greatsword in his hand, Wu Yan was silent. Chapter 1304. In the end, under Yashio's control, the corpse gray dragon left Ansari City and came to the sky. However, Yashio took out the intrinsic magic device of the paladin armor and slashed it in half, erasing it into nothingness. According to Yaksu, after riding the corpse gray dragon, the consciousness of the corpse gray dragon fused with him and transmitted a wish to him, hoping that Yaksu would be able to let it sleep underground again and no longer be controlled by others. In order for Yaksu to kill it, the corpse gray dragon even used its last bit of strength and promised to release Yak before Yaksu killed it. Thus, in the end, Yaksu was able to kill the corpse gray dragon without worry and save Yak from danger. Could be said that the one who saved Ansari City was Yaksu himself. However, Yaksu did not receive the support of the crowd after saving Ansari City. Instead, he was punched by Wu Yan, Lebecca, and Sylvia, causing him to fall to the ground. That was to be expected. According to the remnant consciousness of the corpse gray dragon, it should have protected Yak at the last moment before its death and returned underground. That is to say, if Yasha didn't interfere twice, Wu Yan and Rebecca would have given up on dealing the final blow to Corpse Ash Dragon. Corpse Ash Dragon would have died a long time ago and Aiku would have been fine. In the end, because of Yashur's interference twice, things had become a lot more complicated. Naturally, everyone who had worked hard would be dissatisfied. Of course, Yak's interference was not completely without benefits. At the very least, Yak, the dragon girl who originally regarded Yaksu as her watchdog, finally acknowledged him. He finally acknowledged Yasho and even created a Holy Knight armor for Yasho. Unfortunately, it was not the Holy Knight armor that Yak created. The dragon clan had a shared inherited memory, which was the so-called dragon seed memory. In the dragon race, every dragon that had ever created a Holy Knight armor would store the design of their own Holy Knight armor in their dragon seed memory. Together with other memories, it would make it easier for the descendants of the dragon race to understand certain things. According to her, the paladin armor that Aik presented to Yashur is merely a replica of the paladin armor design left behind by her ancestors. The system also said that the Holy Knight armor was created by the holy dragons according to the data of its master's body. It was the most suitable magic equipment for its master. In other words, the Holy Knight armor Yak created was only a copy of the Holy Knight armor used by someone else. It was not suitable for Yaksu. Naturally, it could not be the same as the Holy Knight armor the holy dragons presented to their master because it was the most suitable and could unleash the most power. Yashu, who was equipped with the Holy Knight armor, could only be considered a half-baked Holy Sky Dragon Knight. Furthermore, as a copy, the Holy Knight armor had a time limit, making Yaksu even more half-baked. Not to mention, the replicas couldn't be worn by others at all. Yak had spent quite a bit of effort to pick out the parts that Yashur could equip from all the designs of the Holy Knight armor and piece them together to create a set of Holy Knight armor that was in a rush. The Holy Knight armor might not even be as good as a copy. But from another perspective, how many people in this world would have the opportunity to equip the Holy Knight armor? Even a princess like Sylvia did not have a Holy Knight armor, did she? Yaksu was able to equip the Holy Knight armor in a short time. Even if it was just a copy pieced together from different places and had a time limit, it was enough to make people envious. Then there was the discovery of Mikatu's. Without Yasha's interference, Wu Yen wouldn't have noticed Mikawosi's presence, allowing such a big fish to escape. Although Mikatu still managed to escape in the end. But at least Wu Yen got to know one very important thing. Yak was the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family of Avalon. With this information, Wu Yen could proceed with his first dungeon mission. After the incident of the corpse dragon attacking Ansari City came to an end, Ansari City started to clean up the mess. Fortunately, there were only injured people in this incident. No one died, which was a great fortune in the midst of misfortune. However, Ansari City still suffered quite a bit of damage. Many buildings were destroyed and a considerable number were partially destroyed. Especially the plaza that welcomed the corpse dragon, it was heavily damaged and could only be temporarily sealed. In order to restore Ansari City to its original state, the citizens will be very busy in the coming days. As for the origin of the corpse Grey Dragon and the behind-the-scenes incident, the mayor of Ansari City gave the reason that dragon matters should be handled by the Dragon Riding Academy, and handed over to the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy Student Council to be fully responsible for it. So, whether it was the information Wu Yen obtained from Mikatu's or the information Yaksu obtained from the corpse dragon's consciousness, all of it was collected by Leibeka. According to Leibeka, after collecting the information she will report it to the higher-ups of knighthood. When the time comes, the Lorimon Holy Dragon Knights will take over and investigate the incident. Wu Yen snorted at Leibeka's words. No matter which world it was, organizations like the police would only rush to the scene after the incident to clean up the mess. The Lorimon Holy Dragon Knights were equivalent to the police of knighthood. They still inherited this glorious custom. How could Wu Yen not snort at them? However, this had nothing to do with Wu Yen, he already obtained the information he wanted. Although he didn't know how Mikatu's knew that Yak was the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family, if what Mikatu said was true, it was clear to him which time he should return to. Wu Yen couldn't help but think that perhaps it was because Yak was the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family that she was born in this world as a human girl. Moreover, in less than a month after her birth, she was able to create the Holy Knight armor that only holy dragons could create. Even if it was just an imitation, it was still very impressive. After all, creating the Holy Knight armor required a lot of mana and the prerequisite was that she was a holy dragon. Yet Yak was able to do so. This also proved that Yak's rank was very likely Holy Dragon rank. Of course, this was what other people thought. Only Wu Yen knew that Yak was the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family. In terms of rank, she was much stronger than the so-called Holy Dragons. Of course, they couldn't tell at the moment. At least, Leibeka, Sylvia, Yaksu and even Yak herself couldn't tell. It was also because of this that Yak was pressed down on the sofa in the student council office. She was being sized up by the people around her. Sitting on the sofa in the student union office, Aiku had a fierce expression on her face. She looked around at the people who surrounded her. They looked as if they wanted to strip her naked and take a good look at her body structure. The anger in her heart continued to rise. I say all of you. Raising her head, Aiku roared like a real dragon. How long are you going to admire me like a work of art? Yak, calm down. Yaksu chuckled as he coaxed Yak like he was serving a capricious young lady. The president and the others just want to know how you can create the holy knight armor, they don't want to treat you like a work of art. Didn't I say that I don't know about that? Yak didn't seem to have any intention of calming down. She was still shouting loudly. Besides, even if I created the holy knight armor in a hurry, there's no need to be so surprised, right? Perhaps there's no need to be surprised if other dragons created it. Wu Yin leisurely explained as he sipped his black tea. He was the only one who wasn't looking at Yak. But you're just a dragon whelp that was born less than a month ago. Not only can you create the holy knight armor, that only holy dragons can create, but you also have the ability to pay for the mana required to create the holy knight armor. What's there to be surprised about? Yak didn't feel relieved. Instead, she proudly puffed out her chest and raised her head. Who do you think I am? Do you think those normal dragons can compare to me? Wu Yin, Lebecca, Sylvia, Yaksu and even Corset who came with Sylvia looked at each other speechlessly. Yak was smaller than any other dragon but she was more arrogant than any other dragon. She was the only one of her kind. Chapter 1305. Looks like we won't be able to get anything out of this research. Lebecca retracted her gaze that had been sizing up Aiku. She raised her hands and hugged them in front of her chest. Her pair of full and round breasts suddenly became more prominent due to her unconscious actions, causing Yashu to blush. We can only let experts research Yak. Research? As soon as Lebecca finished speaking, Yashu shuddered as if he heard some bad news. Yak jumped up from the sofa and shouted. Don't even think about it. I will never let those professors do their research on me again. If anyone dares to research me again, I'll stomp them flat. Seeing Yashu and Yak's intense reaction, Wu Yin, Lebecca, Sylvia, and Cosette were stunned. Then they remembered something. When Yak was just born, in order to figure out why a dragon like her would be born in this world as a human girl, the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy had also arranged for a doctor who had a great authority in dragon research to examine Yak. However, this doctor's research method was rather extreme. She had a strong interest in Aiku and even kidnapped Aiku in private, intending to dissect her. Fortunately, at that time, Sylvia just happened to bump into Yashur who was jumping around anxiously because of Yak's disappearance. With Sylvia's help, Yashur finally found Yak and rescued her from the doctor's scalpel. Later, that professor didn't seem to want to give up on the opportunity to research Yak. She ran to the Ansari Dragon Academy and became Wu Yin, Yashur, and Sylvia's class teacher. While teaching, she was also eyeing Yak covetously. It was because of this that Yashur and Yak reacted so violently. Thinking of this, Wu Yin and the girls looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Forget it, Lebecca. Wu Yin looked at Lebecca and shook his head. Since Aiku isn't willing, let's not force it. Anyway, there's no harm in this matter for us. This is a good thing for Yashur. Just let it be. This? Lebecca pondered for a moment before nodding. Roland is right. It's not a bad thing anyway. Let's just let it be for now. Yashio and Yak heaved a sigh of relief. Their expressions as if they had just escaped death amused everyone present. How unfortunate. Lebecca suddenly sighed regretfully. If it wasn't for the appearance of the corpse ash dragon, I wouldn't have been able to survive. I wanted to go on a date with Laurent that day. Pooh. Wu Yin, who had just sipped a mouthful of black tea, shuddered because of this sudden statement. He spat out all the tea and sprayed Yashur, who was sitting opposite him, with an astonished expression on his face. I'm sorry. Wu Yin smiled apologetically and said, What are you talking about all of a sudden? A date. Sylvia's face slowly turned red, and her mind started to wander. This is shameless. As the student council president, how can you? Oh. Corset looked at Sylvia in shock. Her highness actually wavered. And not at all. That's not a shameless thing. Your highness. Lebecca smiled and interrupted Sylvia's weak retort. The reward for winning the Ares Dragon ritual is a one-day date, right? Have you all forgotten? Wu Yin and the rest were startled but soon understood. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Wu Yin said, and Lebecca looked like she had suffered a blow. I didn't think my date right would be forgotten by you. In the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, Lebecca's popularity was at its peak. There wasn't a single student who didn't worship this powerful and beautiful goddess of their dreams. Otherwise, on the day of the Ares Dragon ritual, when Lebecca announced that the winner would get a one-day date with her, the spectators and contestants wouldn't have nearly rioted. No. A member of the opposite sex had forgotten about a date with Lebecca. Even if Lebecca was only pretending to be shocked, she still felt strange. On the contrary, Sylvia, Yashur, and Yak looked at Wu Yan with praise. Not being affected by beauty, this is the attitude a true knight should have. Even President Lebecca's charm can be ignored. Laurent, you're amazing. Well, you're much better than my guard dog who only knows how to be infatuated with human females. Wu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the three of them talking about the same topic. Lebecca calmed herself down and she smiled. She whispered into Wu Yan's ear in a sweet voice. Then, when do you plan to exercise the one-day date rite? Me? Wu Yan scratched his face and shrugged. I can do it any time, it depends on your mood. Then let's do it tomorrow? The corner of Rebecca's mouth curled into a happy arc. I'll look forward to it. Seeing how Wu Yan and Lebecca decided to go on a date in front of everyone, Yasha couldn't help but feel envious. Yak snorted in disdain. Cosette maintained a smile on her face. Sylvia, on the other hand, had a bad feeling about this. Sylvia wasn't sure why that was the case. Maybe Wu Yan is the only person who called her by her name, the only person who didn't hesitate to reprimand her when she made a mistake or was weak, and the only person who helped her out. His position in her heart has become a bit special. At that thought, Sylvia suddenly recalled something. Right. With a serious expression, Sylvia turned around and looked at Wu Yan. Speaking of the Aries dragon ritual, I've also made a declaration to you. You won that time. You said that I have to promise you one thing. You can also mention that thing together. Speaking of which, there is indeed such a thing. Wu Yan first blinked his eyes and then nodded his head as though he was enlightened, revealing a bright smile. The next moment, Wu Yan uttered a sentence that shocked everyone in the audience. Sylvia, give me corset. The air froze. What? Yashur opened his mouth wide. Cosette. Lebecca's expression froze. Give you? Sylvia stared blankly at Wu Yan, who was all smiles. Her petite body started trembling. She trembled from anger. What? Lord Roland? Corset stuttered, her cheeks flushed red as she took a small step back. Do you want to? Hey, are you guys thinking about the factory? Seeing everyone's expression, Wu Yan knew that they had taken his intentions in an evil direction. He grimaced and explained himself. I just want to borrow Corset's time every morning. Every morning? However, not only did they not feel relieved, they were even more incredulous. Roland? Lebecca held her forehead and sighed. I know you guys are troubled by certain physiological phenomena in the morning, but even so, you can't let someone else solve it for you, ha! Wu Yan is flabbergasted. Cosette is a very proper person. This time, Cosette took a few steps back as if she had met an idiot. Even a maid can't agree to Lord Roland's request? You impudent bastard! Sylvia's face was filled with anger, she clenched her fists and slowly approached Wu Yan. You're the public enemy of all women. You must be punished with the hammer of death when facing a female enemy. This is the Loriman Wang family's rule. Stop imagining things, you horny people. Wu Yan was so angry that his hands were shaking. I just want Corset to make breakfast for me because I like to laze in bed in the morning. What kind of setting is that? Hearing this, everyone froze again. Their expressions changed drastically and finally turned into awkwardness. So it's just breakfast? Lebecca shook her head in disappointment. I knew Lord Roland wasn't that kind of person. Sylvia turned her head away with a red face. If that's the case, please leave it to me. As if nothing had happened, Cosette wore the same smile on his face as always. I will make the best breakfast for Lord Roland. Seeing how everyone is trying to cover up their awkwardness, Wu Yan raised his head and looked at the ceiling, speechless. Chapter 1306. At night. After returning to his room, Wu Yan didn't lie down on his bed as usual. Instead, he silently closed his eyes and immersed his consciousness into his body. He activated his sensitive nerves and moved his consciousness towards a mysterious power within his body. To be more precise, he moved his consciousness towards one of the three mysterious powers within his body. Those are the three Magatama engravings. Wu Yan's consciousness gradually moved there and covered one of the Magatama engravings. His lips lightly opened. First, red jade. Activate. On Wu Yan's chest, the leftmost Magatama engravings suddenly lit up. Red jade mode. Activate. Wu Yan's command reverberated in the air. The Magatama engraving turned around and slowly sank into Wu Yan's body as if it was entering his body. Buzz. With a buzzing sound, the Magatama engravings that sank into Wu Yan's body suddenly exploded and turned into an indescribable mysterious power. It fused into every corner of Wu Yan's body. The next moment, Wu Yan's uniform turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye. Red veins crawled up the uniform and the veins spread out along with the black luster. In just a few moments, Wu Yan's uniform turned black and red. It also surged with a strong defensive power that is different from what it used to be. At this time, Wu Yan slowly opened his eyes. One of his wine-red pupils turned gold. There was a strange clock engraved on it. It looked extremely strange. Clenching his hands, Wu Yan's one red and one gold eyes flashed with a hint of discomfort. It made his movements a bit unnatural. This is Wu Yan's second time entering the Red Jade mode. The first time was when the Beast King was just born. It was to scout for information in the Behemoth Forest. In a battle with a long-arm ape, he had tested his skills, and this was the first time the Red Jade mode had shown its power. Since then, Wu Yan hasn't entered the Red Jade mode. Of course, this isn't the main reason why he feels uncomfortable. After all, the Red Jade mode is his bloodline ability. Normally, his body won't feel uncomfortable like this. What really made Wu Yan feel uncomfortable is the Ling energy within his body. Normally, it's magical power that flows in his body. Now that it's suddenly replaced with Ling energy, Wu Yan naturally felt a bit uncomfortable. But it only took a short while. When he completely adapted to the Ling energy within his body, Wu Yan raised his head. The golden eye of the clock flashed with strange waves. Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel. The space behind him rotated and twisted as if a pen was drawing something on it. It drew a circle with wheels. Then a huge clock with illusory wheels rotating around it slowly vibrated out of the space, causing ripples. Dungeon World, Star Carvings Dragon Knight. Dungeon Mission, Acquire. Mission 1. Enter the Red Jade mode of the character, Tokusaki Kurumi, and use the ability of the angel, Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel. Use the Bullet of 12 Yodbet. Return to the infant ritual, in the Abayan Forest when the Mother of Dragons placed the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family in the Abayan Forest. Obtain a drop of the first blood of the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family before he was born. Mission reward, 10,000 equipment points, item points, ability points and summoning points. Mission 2, not activated. Mission 3, not activated. After confirming his Mission 1, he recalled the time he got from Yashir about the immature ritual. With a shake of his hand, a long and a short musket appeared in his hand out of nowhere. He gripped both muskets in his hand. Taking a deep breath, Wu Yan slowly mobilized all the Reiki in his body and infused it into the musket. Let's begin. After saying that, Wu Yan pointed the short and long muskets at the Roman numeral 12, on the Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel, behind him. Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel, dash bullet of 12 Yodbet. 12 Yodbet. Behind him. The Emperor of Carving, Zafkiel, as dial shook violently and a shocking Reiki burst out. It instantly filled the entire room and stirred up a turbulent atmosphere. A black and red stream of Reiki spiraled up from the Roman numeral 12, and flowed into the short musket that was pointed at it. Wu Yan could clearly feel a very powerful Reiki rushing back and forth in the gun like a bomb, trying to escape from the gun and explode. Going back in time sounded like a very powerful ability, but going back to the past meant that there was a possibility of changing history. That was something that the world did not allow. Now Wu Yan was basically trying to break the operation of the world. How could such an ability not cause any abnormalities? Wu Yan could feel that if he didn't try his best to suppress the rampaging spirit power within the pistol, the spirit power would have already escaped from the gun and exploded like a real bomb, turning the surroundings into ashes. Last time, how much pressure did Kurumi endure to send him back in time? While desperately trying to control the Reiki in the gun, he thought of this question. In the next second, Wu Yan did not waste any more time. He pointed the gun at himself and pulled the trigger. Bang! Gunshots rang out and the pitch-black bullet entered Wu Yan's body at 0 distance. Wu Yan's body started twisting as if he was sucked into a whirlpool. In the end, he disappeared from the room. Abayan Forest. This was a very special forest. It wasn't because there were some precious treasures inside, nor was it because there was some evil being sealed inside. The reason why Abayan Forest was so special and was regarded as a special place by the Knights of Lorea and even the entire Aruxtran continent was because the origin of the dragons resided in the forest. The Mother of Dragons. Since the dragons were no longer self-sufficient in their supply of star essence, The dragons who were once on the brink of extinction developed the virtuous dragon magic, Abayan, fundamentally refurbishing the dragon's ecosystem. The mother of dragons took on the task of reproducing the next generation, and in the future the dragons would no longer have any gender distinction, nor would they have the ability to reproduce. In other words, the mother of dragons was the mother of the dragons. The mother of dragons resides in the forest of Abayan. At the entrance of Abayan Forest, there were rows of buildings that seemed to have been left behind from ancient times. They were scattered in an orderly manner. Inside there was a long-established holy hall. That was the shrine of the Abayan Monastery. Within the Abayan Monastery, there was a group known as the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights. They were a group sent by the Knights of Lorimon to guard Abayan Forest. In the Knights of Lorimon, all citizens of 7 years old had to go to Abayan Forest within a month to undergo the youngling ritual. As for the Abayan Forest Order of Knights, it was to unify the children who went to Abayan Forest to undergo the youngling ritual. They were to be managed in batches and choose a day for the children whose birthdays were close to each other to enter Abayan Forest to undergo the youngling ritual. During the period when the children were about to undergo the youngling ritual, the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights would be in charge of taking care of the children and providing them with food and shelter. They would also record the children who successfully became dragon breeders and let the country send them to the Dragon Breeders Academy to study. Convoy after convoy headed towards Abayan Forest from different directions and stopped at the Abayan Monastery. The children who were about to undergo the youngling ceremony were all handed over to the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights and entered the monastery to undergo standardized management. Among them, a black-haired, red-eyed child was also taken over by the members of the Abayan Forest Order of Knights. He was sent to the monastery to temporarily stay there and await the arrangements for the youngling ceremony. If one looked closely, they would notice that unlike the other children whose eyes were full of mischief and quick-wittedness, this black-haired, red-eyed child only had wisdom in his eyes. Chapter 1307. Children, remember to follow the monks who are leading the way. Don't go anywhere else, okay? In Abayan Abbey, a kind nun who was about 40 years old was talking to those kids behind the leading nuns in a gentle yet strict tone. She was very familiar with leading the kids at present, making them obedient and not disgusted with her. Walking in the corridor of Abayan Abbey, those young monks and nuns who were not involved in the work were glancing at the kids with full of curiosity. Alim walking in the corridor of Abayan Abbey, those young monks and nuns who were not involved in the work were glancing at the kids curiously. It was apparent that they were just probationary members of the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights and not members of the order. Even though the Abayan Forest Knights of the Abayan Forest Monastery had the name of a knight order, none of them had the aura of a knight. Instead, they dressed up like monks and nuns and didn't call themselves knights to the outside world. Instead, they referred to themselves as monks. After all, no matter how strong the members of the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights were, they were still formed in the name of cultivation. The knights here didn't require their members to be qualified knights. Instead, they required them to have a kind heart. It was also because of this that the Abayan Forest Ascetic Knights became the protector of the sacred land of Abayan Forest, which had to deal with children all day long. Without a doubt, the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights were the most suitable guardians. Amidst the noisy group of children who obediently followed behind the cultivators who led the way, Wu Yan was there as well. Moreover, he was there openly. At this moment, Wu Yan's figure had completely transformed into a 7-year-old child. He was going to participate in the youngling ritual, and came to the Abayan Forest 9 years ago. Originally when he used the bullet of 12 yod. When the power of the bullet of 12 yod returned, Wu Yan wanted to enter the Abayan Forest directly. He wanted to find the Mother of Dragons. He wanted to obtain the blood of Yak before she was entrusted to him and complete his first mission. But after thinking about it, Wu Yan had to give up on that idea. According to the knighthood of Lorimon, the children who went to the Abayan Forest for the youngling ritual would be arranged by the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights. They would enter the Abayan Forest in batches. They would search for the Mother of Dragons. However, although they said they were looking for the Mother of Dragons, no one knew where she was. Because, after entering the Abayan Forest, the youngling ritual would begin. The Mother of Dragons could use her special ability to test whether the children in the Abayan Forest had the talent to become a dragon nurturer. If they did, the Mother of Dragons would appear in front of them and bestow them a dragon's child. The children who didn't have the talent to become dragon nurturers could only wander around Abayan Forest with nothing to show for it. After that, they would be escorted out by the Abayan Forest's Forest Ascetic Knights. If Wu Yan entered the Abayan Forest with his original appearance, he might not even see the face of the Mother of Dragons. He would exhaust the spiritual power that supported the time reversal and return to the future world. Instead of that, he might as well pretend to be a kid who came here for the youngling ritual and enter the Abayan forest to wait for the Mother of Dragon to come to him. Wouldn't that be better? As for whether he had the talent to become a dragon nurturer, Wu Yen didn't doubt it at all. He didn't think that as a true ancestor he would lose to a group of ordinary children. Therefore, as soon as Wu Yen arrived, he immediately extracted some magical power from the star carving that sealed his power and used an illusionary spell to turn his body back to his 7-year-old appearance. He blended into the group of children who came for the youngling ritual and entered the Abayan forest under the arrangement of the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights. Looking around at the children following behind the monk who led the way, looking at the trainees and nuns who were pointing at them, Wu Yen sighed. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. No matter what, he couldn't get used to a 20-something-year-old uncle blended in with a group of 7-year-old children and being treated as a piece of art. It's a good thing that Wu Yen chose to mix in with this group of kids for the youngling ritual. Otherwise he would be worried that he would run out of bullet 12 yod during the process of pretending to be a youngster. The power of the bet returned with no gains at all. Under the guidance of the monk, the group of children passed through the corridors of the monastery and arrived at the entrance of Abayan forest. Arriving here, the cultivators who led the way let the children stand where they were, and they dispersed on their own. But not long after, a very approachable old man with a bald head, a long white beard and a black cloak, who looked like an ancient magician, appeared in front of all the children. "Hello, children." The old man had a peaceful expression on his face as he spoke to the children in a hearty voice that did not match his appearance at all. "I'm the leader of the Abayan Forest Monastery Knights, Kargas. Just call me Grandpa Kargas." "Kajia, see Grandpa, okay." Upon hearing that, the group of children immediately dragged out their accents in a lively and polite manner. They greeted Kargas in a tone similar to how they greeted teacher in class, causing Kargas to laugh out loud. "Very good. Very polite. I believe that all of you will be able to successfully become a youngling and become a glorious dragon breeder." Upon hearing Kargas's words, the children revealed an excited expression. Even though they could not understand the importance of glory and the feeling in their hearts at their age, they would still feel happy when they were praised by others. "Grandpa Kargas has something to say to all of you here. All of you must remember it well." When Kargas reached this point, he withdrew his smile. His expression was still as peaceful as before, but there was a sense of seriousness in it. It caused the group of children to subconsciously quiet down and widen their eyes. "After a while, the Holy Land, Abayan Forest, will be opened. All of you will be allowed to enter together and undergo the youngling ritual." Kargas pointed at the dense forest behind him. "Over there, all of you will be able to do your own activities for a day. Nobody will accompany you in." The group of children was stunned for a moment before they began to clamor. Uneasiness was written all over their faces. This was only natural. Who would not be afraid to let a group of children who had just reached the age of 7 move around alone in a forest? "Children, all of you don't have to worry. All of you will not be in danger in the Abayan forest. The Dragon Mother will protect all of you," Kargas said in a humble tone, finally calming the group of children down. Upon seeing this, Kargas continued to explain. "In the forest, all of you must rely on your own strength to find the Dragon Mother. If you can find it, then all of you will become a dragon breeder." Kargas did not mention that the Dragon Mother would appear in front of those who only had the talent of dragon breeder. Instead, he gave such an ambiguous explanation and continued to explain. "Also, remember, all of you must return to the entrance of the forest when the sun goes down regardless of whether you have obtained a youngling or not. If all of you have not returned by the time the sun goes down, then the knights will send someone to look for all of you. So, if you don't want to spend the night with the bugs, remember to return to the entrance of the forest, okay?" Yes, it was unknown whether or not they had understood, but the children once again dragged out their words and replied. Only then did Kargas nod his head in satisfaction. He turned his head and looked at the surrounding cultivators. "Bring them into the Holy Land." "Yes." Different from the children's response, the monks came to the front of the children again and led them to the entrance of Abayan forest. Then they let the children enter Abayan forest by themselves. Looking up at the Abayan forest that was getting closer and closer to him, Wu Yan's wine-red eyes shone brightly. The corner of his mouth slowly rose. Chapter 1308. Abayan Forest. The cool air reverberated through the entire forest, causing the hot summer temperature to continuously drop. In the forest, huge trees that could be described as tall and mighty towered into the clouds, covering most of the light from the sky and bringing with it a thick humid air. The smell of trees mixed with the smell of wet soil permeated the air. It smelled unusually pungent. Some small insects were flying around in the forest, and some unknown insects would sometimes fall from the sky without any warning. The chirping of birds could be heard frequently, and the pungent smell in the air was gently drifting around. Logically speaking, the rancid smell that only existed in the forest was absent here. Although the smell that permeated the air was pungent, it was very refreshing. Judging from this point alone, a Bayan forest was different from other forests. Disregarding everything else, although this forest appeared somewhat gloomy due to the dim light, the air seemed to ripple with a sacred aura that could dispel some of the fear in people's hearts, so that people would not be afraid to even walk into the depths of the forest. Perhaps the reason why the Abayan forest was called the Holy Land was because of the holy aura it exuded. Wu Yan didn't know if it's because the Dragon Mother is resting here that the entire forest is filled with this holy aura. But he has to admit that this holy aura is very useful. Without it, the children who were going through the infant ritual wouldn't even dare to walk around. They would just stay in place and cry. Walking in the forest where there was little light. Wu Yan observed his surroundings while focusing on the depths of the forest. He tried his best to act like a 7-year-old kid while silently waiting for the arrival of Dragon Mother. When Wu Yan first entered a Bayan forest, he was still with the other children. Yashu, who didn't know him, was one of them. However, Wu Yan didn't come to a Bayan forest to get his hatchlings. He came to a Bayan forest to find Dragon Mother. Plus, he wasn't a real child, so he needed to be with others. As soon as he entered a Bayan forest, he left the other children behind and walked into the depths of the forest alone. Raising his head, he looked at the top of the forest. The dense foliage was like a shadow that covered the sky, blocking the sunlight that was pouring down from the sky. Not allowing them to move forward, strands of sparse light seeped through the gaps between the leaves, illuminating the ground full of dead leaves and soil. It also illuminated Wu Yan's face. Wu Yan recollected his thoughts and he continued walking in the forest. He only hoped the Mother of Dragons would appear before him as soon as possible. After all, he had a limited amount of time in this world. Not only did he need to meet the Mother of Dragons, but he also needed to negotiate with her and get her to agree to let him take the blood of Yak. In order to prolong his time in this world, Wu Yan even drained all of his spirit energy in the red jade mode. If it was a real elf, they would die if their spirit energy was drained. Wu Yan drained him of all his spiritual energy. The moment he arrived at this time, he deactivated red jade mode. It's as if he's running out of time. He could only use it again after 24 hours. Only now did Wu Yan know that when he used up all of his spirit energy in the red jade mode, the duration of the red jade mode would be reset to 0. Wu Yan couldn't help but feel lucky. He didn't want to use the red jade mode to fight others. If he were to recklessly use his red jade mode's power before the time limit was up, he would run out of energy and the red jade mode would be cancelled. At that time he would be in trouble. Ding. Just as Wu Yan was rejoicing over the fact that he discovered another limitation of ruby mode, a melodious voice echoed in his ears. Wu Yan stopped in his tracks and froze on the spot. Ding. Her melodious voice echoed in the forest. This time, Wu Yan could clearly feel a strange wave of energy rippling around him. The source of the sound was none other than this ripple that carried a pleasant timbre. This sound. Wu Yan came back to his senses and thought of a possibility. His face lit up. Buzz. It was also at this moment that a blinding light flashed, enveloping the entire forest within their field of vision. Wu Yan reflexively closed his eyes and quickly opened them. The next moment he was stunned. Because the scene in front of Wu Yan was no longer a dense forest, but a cave-like place. The top was covered by rock and there were cold rock walls all around. Spheres that provided light to the dark cavern floated back and forth. It was an extremely strange scene, but Wu Yan felt that it was natural. This place is. Wu Yan frowned slightly and looked forward. There, a clear flowing lake flickered with a bright arc of light. It was so clear that one could see the bottom. On the opposite shore of the lake, there was a magnificent building that looked like an ancient temple. The foundation was built with square stones, and there were countless cylinders engraved with complicated patterns in the temple. One could even clearly see that inside the temple, there was a large mural on the wall. As for the content of the mural, Wu Yan could not see it clearly from his angle. After taking in everything in the cavern, Wu Yan immediately had a thought. The Mother of Dragons had appeared. Ding. Just as this thought popped up in his mind, the clear and melodious voice reverberated through the air again, creating a clear ripple in the air. Whoosh! A gust of wind suddenly appeared here like a shockwave. It swept up and rushed toward Wu Yan. Wu Yan's expression froze and he raised a hand to block the wind pressure. However, just as the wind was still whistling, an air-piercing sound that caused the atmosphere to tremble was also heard. That sound was like a huge creature flapping its wings. After a long time, the sound of flapping wings and the whistling of the wind gradually subsided, and Wu Yan's vision was restored. Then Wu Yan saw. In the temple-like building on the opposite side of the lake, a dragon appeared. It was a huge dragon that was much taller than all the dragons Wu Yan had seen so far. However, such a huge body did not have a trace of ferocious and terrifying aura. Instead, it was surrounded by a mysterious mist, very elegant and sacred. The dragon had 2 ivory horns on its head. It had green hair and white fur. Its wings were like the wings of a cicada, emitting green light. Its long neck had a dazzling light as beautiful as a gem. Roar! As if it felt Wu Yan's gaze, the dragon slowly raised its huge dragon head, and a dragon roar that caused the ground to tremble resounded through the entire space, turning into a sound wave that shook the heaven and earth. Based on this power alone, Wu Yan believed that this dragon, without a doubt, is the mother of dragons. Thinking of this, Wu Yan was delighted. Unfortunately, before he could react, the mother of dragons' huge body immediately emitted a dazzling white light and wrapped Wu Yan's body. A stunned expression appeared on Wu Yan's face, and he felt a force that did not belong to him invading his body. Then, an aura full of life silently appeared in his body. Feeling the sudden life force in his body, Wu Yan thought of something and hurriedly wanted to say something, but a scorching feeling slowly emerged on the back of his hand. Accompanied by a dragon head engraving that was surrounded by a ring in the middle, that is the star engraving. Wu Yan is becoming a real dragon cultivator. Buzz! Suddenly, a bloody mist burst out from Wu Yan's body that was covered in white light, and the light that covered the surface of his body was scattered away like rotten wood. The explosion of the bloody mist caused the life force that invaded Wu Yan's body to let out a cry full of fear, as if it had encountered something terrifying. With a turn of its head, it drilled out of Wu Yan's body, turned into a ball of light, and landed on his palm and began to tremble. Suddenly Wu Yan was stunned. The mother of dragons was also stunned. Chapter 1309. The blood mist that permeated his body slowly dissipated like evaporating steam as if it had never appeared before. It retracted back into Wu Yan's body. If it wasn't for the sphere that was full of life that was trembling in Wu Yan's hand, perhaps some people would think that the scene just now was just an illusion. As the blood mist dissipated, the entire space suddenly fell into an unusually dignified silence. Wu Yan held the sphere that seemed to have a life of its own. As if he thought of something, he shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He sighed and broke the silence around him. In front of him, in the temple, the indomitable mother of dragons tightly stared at Wu Yan. Her eyes were full of uncertainty. After a while, a burst of green light flashed from her body. When the light dissipated, the indomitable giant dragon had disappeared and was replaced by a woman. It was a beautiful woman with long green hair that reached her waist. Her body carried a dreamy soft green light as if she walked out of a dream. She was about 25 years old. She looked unusually young. Her body reverberated with a noble and elegant aura like a lady from a noble family. She could not help but attract people. She wore a dress that looked like a priest of a temple, similar to a dress. The skirt reached her ankles, faintly making people feel a touch of tranquility. It was worth mentioning that the woman had 2 horns on her head. 2 dragon horns. Furthermore, there were countless branches growing out of each dragon horn. It was like a crown. Not only did it not destroy the woman's beauty, but it also added a lot of charm. Looking at the beautiful woman who suddenly appeared, Wu Yan was slightly startled and hesitated for a moment. Lin Mingya asked with uncertainty. "You are the mother of dragons?" The woman should be the mother of dragons. She raised her head and looked straight ahead with her clear emerald eyes. She cast her gaze on Wu Yan and nodded. Then, a voice that clearly belonged to a young girl, but full of vicissitudes of life, echoed from the mother of dragons' slightly opened red lips. "Why did the baby I gave you seem to be rejected by your body and was pushed out?" Yes. The life that just appeared in Wu Yan's body was now lying in Wu Yan's hand trembling. It was the baby dragon that the mother of dragons entrusted to him. In other words, the sphere in Wu Yan's hand was equivalent to a living dragon egg waiting to be hatched. Feeling the life aura from the sphere that was doing subtle movements in his hand, Wu Yan, who already faintly knew what it was, now that he got the Mother of Dragons' affirmation, he shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although I don't quite understand the principle, the reason. It should be because those restless fellows in my body can't tolerate such a weak thing existing in the same body as them. Restless fellows? The eyes of the dragon mother narrowed slightly. She pondered for a moment before she calmly opened her mouth. Who are you? Me? Wu Yen raised an eyebrow and he grinned. I'm just an ordinary child in the Knight's Kingdom of Lorimon. No. You're not from the Kingdom of Knights. Upon hearing Wu Yan's answer, the Mother of Dragons replied indifferently, startling Wu Yan. Due to the fact that the dragon tribe is facing extinction, we dragons can only sign a contract with humans. We can obtain star essence from humans and survive. The Mother of Dragons said in a ruthless tone that was cruel to the dragon tribe. However, not all humans can be kind to the dragon tribe and gain the trust of the dragon tribe. Therefore, when I decided to let the dragon tribe rely on humans to survive, I chose the Kingdom of Knights. I chose to focus on the path of knighthood and established the Lorimon knighthood as a clan that lives together with my dragon clan. It's also because of this reason that I can obtain the information of everyone in the knighthood through the virtuous dragon magic, Abayan. It's also through this that I can find out who has the talent to become a dragon breeder and obtain a dragon's partner. Dragon Mother looked at Wu Yan with an indifferent expression as she affirmed Wu Yan. Therefore, I can be sure that you're not from the Kingdom of Knights. Upon hearing this, Wu Yan's heart sank as he stared at the Mother of Dragons. Since you can obtain the information of everyone in the Kingdom of Knights and you're sure that I'm not from there, why did you choose to entrust your young to me? Wu Yan asked in a deep voice as he raised the sphere that was emitting life energy in his hand. According to what you said, people who aren't from the Kingdom of Knights shouldn't be able to obtain your entrustment and become a dragon breeder, right? That's not the case. The Mother of Dragons shook her head gently. With the magic of my dragon tribe, I can more or less obtain some information on the Uruxtran continent. However, due to the close relationship with the Kingdom of Knights, the information I obtain is more detailed. It's not that I didn't entrust my young to someone outside of the Kingdom of Knights. Not long ago, I made an exception and let someone from the Kingdom of Shepron become a dragon breeder, because I wanted to see something from her. But I can't get any information from you. Mother Dragon was silent for a while, and then her voice sounded with a little seriousness. It's as if you don't belong to this world. Wu Yan raised his head abruptly. His wine-red pupils shone brightly as a strong suspicion rose in his heart. He realized that he seemed to have underestimated the Mother of Dragons, who could only be the center of the dragon tribe's reproduction system. Putting aside how powerful she was, just her wisdom and analytical ability alone made her worthy of being the mother of the dragon tribe. Suppressing the suspicion in his heart, Wu Yan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they had returned to normal. You said that you can't get any information from me? Wu Yan looked at Dragon Mother with a smile that didn't look like a smile on his face. In other words, you don't even know my identity and you're already planning to entrust your young to me? It's because I can't see through you that I've decided to entrust my young to you. The Mother of Dragons remained silent for a long time before replying. After all, it won't be long before the dragon tribe faces the fate of extinction. What? Wu Yan was shocked. Extinction? The dragon tribe faces extinction? Isn't this joke a little too much? Although the dragon tribe is powerful and their lifespan is incomparable to the average human, there will still be an end. The Mother of Dragons spoke as if it had nothing to do with her. Same for me. This time it was Wu Yan's turn to be silent. The dragon tribe's ecosystem has been fully updated. The Mother of Dragons would be responsible for the reproduction of the next generation and entrust them to the humans to sign a contract with them to obtain star essence. Other than the Mother of Dragons, the other dragons no longer have a gender and no longer have the ability to reproduce. Once the Mother of Dragons' lifespan is exhausted and ushered in the end of her life, the dragon tribe will no longer be able to replenish themselves with the new generation. It's only a matter of time before they face extinction. That's what the Mother of Dragons wanted to express. The purpose of the virtuous dragon magic, Abayan, is to link the dragon tribe and the human tribe together so that the dragon tribe can continue to live. But in the end, it's just a measure to prolong their lives. From beginning to end, the Mother of Dragons used an indifferent tone to narrate these things. I can't see through you. I don't know if letting you become a dragon breeder will bring about a good ending or a bad ending. But for the dragon tribe that is on the verge of extinction, even if the ending is bad, it will only bring forward what should have happened. If it's a good ending, perhaps it will bring the dragon tribe a ray of hope. The Mother of Dragons looked deeply at Wu Yan. That's why I chose to entrust the youngling to you. I planned to gamble on you. Unfortunately, in the end, something unexpected happened. You? Who are you? After asking the same question again, the surrounding atmosphere fell silent again. However, the heavy feeling in the air was much heavier, making people feel a little suffocated. Looking at the calming youngling in his hand, Wu Yan took a deep breath and looked forward. As you said, I'm just a passerby who doesn't belong to this world. Passerby? This time, I have something to ask of you. As if to interrupt the Mother of Dragons' thoughts, Wu Yan's voice rang out. I hope you can give me some blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. 1. Just as he finished speaking, the Mother of Dragons in the temple in front of her released a terrifying aura. His eyes were already filled with enmity. Chapter 13:10. The terrifying aura that surged from the Mother of Dragons turned into a wave of air that reverberated, causing ripples to appear in the surrounding space. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes as he was extremely surprised. When the Mother of Dragons mentioned the survival of the Dragon clan, she spoke with an indifferent attitude. She did not seem the slightest bit surprised that her clan was about to come to an end. Her expression did not even change. But now, he had only slightly expressed his desire for some blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. The Mother of Dragons, who had been indifferent from the start, actually had such a huge reaction. Even the aura that surged from her body was not a sign that she was about to use her power, but it was all hostility. Yes, the aura that surged from the Mother of Dragons was made up of pure hostility. Could it be that he had unintentionally offended the Mother of Dragons in some way? While Wu Yan was thinking about this, Dragon Mother's cold voice entered his ears. You're right. You're right. You can go back. With an unquestionable tone, the Mother of Dragons said coldly. There are still some children undergoing the youngling ritual, waiting for me to give them youngling. Our conversation ends here. Hearing the Mother of Dragons' words, Wu Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Can I know the reason? I don't know where you found out that I had already given birth to the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family and was about to let her be born. But since you came for her, then this reason is enough for me to treat you as an enemy of the Dragon clan. The Mother of Dragons' voice was getting colder and colder. Leave now. I can pretend that nothing happened. You were so calm when talking about the survival of the Dragon clan, but when talking about the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, you showed such a strong hostility. Seeing that the Mother of Dragons had begun to order him to leave, Wu Yan was baffled and his brows gradually furrowed. It seems that in your heart, the importance of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family seems to be much more important than the survival of the Dragon clan itself. Hearing that, the Mother of Dragons stared closely at Wu Yan and immediately closed her eyes. Because the key to the survival of the Dragon clan depends on the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. Wu Yan's heart tightened. In his mind, Ai Ku's appearance could not help but slowly appear. Until now, he still hadn't figured out why Ai Ku was born in this world in human form. Was it because Yak was the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family that she descended into this world in human form? The answer, of course, the answer. Although he didn't know what exactly was going on after combining it with the words of the Mother of Dragons, Wu Yan had a feint of the Holy Dragon royal family. The reason why Ai Ku was born into this world in human form was to use her identity as a dragon to mate with a human male and produce offspring, thus preserving the dragon bloodline that was on the verge of extinction. Humans had an abundance of star sprites. Through the union with humans, the half-human half-dragon offspring might be recognized by the planet and regain the right to make the star sprite self-sufficient. That's hard to say. Thinking of this possibility, coupled with the Mother of Dragons' words that the key to the survival of the Dragon clan depends on the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, Wu Yan was even more certain of the guess in his heart. If that's the case, then it's no wonder the Mother of Dragons would suddenly have such a strong hostility towards him. After all, it's not an exaggeration to say that Ai Ku is the last hope of the Dragon clan. Based on this situation, it's undoubtedly impossible to get the Mother of Dragons to give him the blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. However, from what the Mother of Dragons just said, Wu Yan found a chance to get her to agree. Immediately, Wu Yan's furrowed brows gradually loosened and a relaxed expression appeared on his face. I just want to get some blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. This shouldn't be a request that can harm her, right? Go back. The Mother of Dragons' expression was still cold and did not waver at all. This made Wu Yen feel helpless from the bottom of his heart. If that's the case, of course, I won't accept the blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family for no reason. I'm willing to pay a price. Go back. This time, the mother of dragon's voice carried a hint of anger. No matter what price you pay, it can't compare to the importance of that child. Is that so? Wu Yan's expression was calm and the corner of his mouth suddenly lifted. Then what if I say I have a way to extend your life and let you live for a while longer? Wah! The mother of dragon's expression changed drastically. Seeing this, Wu Yan did not waste any time and directly reached out his hand and pointed at the void in front of him. Immediately, a green gem appeared in his hand without any warning and was exposed in this space. It's a thumb-sized tear-shaped green gem. Breath of Time can only be used on living organisms. An item born from soil that is still in good condition after a long period of time. Chance of birth is 1%. User can obtain the life force contained within and double their remaining lifespan without any side effects. Cost, 15,000 item points. Its name is Breath of Time. Glancing at the tear-shaped green gem floating above his other hand, Wu Yan turned his eyes to the Mother of Dragons. Its function is to increase the user's remaining lifespan and double the user's remaining lifespan. It should be a very useful item for you, right? You? The Mother of Dragons' gaze swept across the Breath of Time and cast on Wu Yan. Finally, a trace of emotion appeared in her eyes. I've never heard of such a treasure in this world. Where did you get such a treasure from? The Mother of Dragons did not say that Wu Yan was lying to her. Instead, she asked such a question. That's because the rich life force from the Breath of Time made the Mother of Dragons' life that was faintly nearing its end show signs of revitalization. The Mother of Dragons could clearly feel that her body was yearning for that green tear-shaped gem. This made the Mother of Dragons very shocked. Didn't I just say it? I'm a traveler that doesn't belong to this world. Wu Yan showed a meaningful expression. It doesn't exist in this world, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist in other worlds. Other worlds. The Mother of Dragons was at a loss. I'll repeat myself. I only want to obtain some blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. I have no other intentions. Wu Yan used a slightly sincere tone. Although I can't explain to you why I need the blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, I can assure you that I won't use it to harm anyone. So, if it's possible, I want you to agree. This. The Mother of Dragons, who was cold and emotionless just now and insisted on not compromising with Wu Yan, finally hesitated. If just giving up some blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family could double her remaining lifespan, then the dragon's lifespan would also be doubled. This was undoubtedly a deal that made the Mother of Dragons very tempted. However, the Mother of Dragons was afraid that Wu Yan would do something that would harm the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. At that time, unless she could continue to live, the future of the Dragon clan would be destroyed in her own hands. So, even if she was tempted, the Mother of Dragons could not help but hesitate. To me, there's no benefit in letting the Dragon clan be destroyed. Wu Yan sighed. Perhaps in the future, when the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family is born, I can still help her. If you can't even agree to this, then I really can't find any other reason to persuade you. I'm just a traveler in this world, the decision is up to you. An uncontrollable ripple appeared in the clear emerald eyes. The Mother of Dragons once again looked at the Breath of Time in Wu Yan's hand. A look of struggle appeared on her face. Wu Yan did not speak anymore, nor would he urge her. He stood quietly on the spot, holding the Breath of Time in one hand and the baby sphere in the other, waiting for the Mother of Dragons to speak. The space gradually turned into a dead silence. All right. After an unknown amount of time, the Mother of Dragons finally sighed as if she had given up. She looked at Wu Yan's eyes with her cold face again. I agree. The corner of Wu Yan's mouth slowly lifted. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.